And we are going free. Can you all hear me? How are you all doing? Let's see. Let's get some feedback to let me know if you all can hear me and how well you can hear me. We did just a moment ago get up on gardening with NWG as well. So I should be streaming to, let me check over here. I see Mandy, the great Mandy is here. LG, there's Raymond, always a hero. El Ronder entering the fray this past week with a great video on Twitter. Irish Rose, great to see you. The great Roy Danton is here, my good brother. Chad is here. DB Cooper, great to see you, brother. DB Cooper, a great contribution to the community, ladies and gentlemen. A big hail to him and salute to him. He's going to be purchasing a number of books, both Born Guilty and Go Free. And DB Cooper, this is what I want to do. I had a little setback with I never stopped working for White Wellbeing, folks. A little bit of a setback. I have no idea what happened. A ton, days worth of work on Go Free, just gone. And so I will be working overnight to get that done, to get it back to where it was. We don't lose any time. Any technological hiccups are not going to slow us down. There are nothing that will slow us down. There's Andre, great to see you. But here's what I'm going to do, DB Cooper. What I want to do is I want you to have the second edition of Go Free. So when your purchase arrives, I'm going to wait until I have the printed version, which will be soon. It'll be shortly. You won't have to wait a long time, because I want to send those Go Frees, the second edition. You have the most powerful edition to not only for yourself to read and to empower yourself and to treat those meme pathogens with which you and all of us are infected, but you will have the most powerful version for your friends and family. And that's what I want most of all. So let's see. Justin Lee is here. There's the great Mythark. Hey, you know what? Seeing Mythark immediately made me think Entropy, because that's one of his favorite platforms of all. So let's get over there. Let's open that software and get you all who want to be over on Entropy over there. Let me do that. That's just a couple clicks away. And then we will be up and running, and you all can join us over there if that is your druther. And we'll look for you there. It is now up and running. Let's see, Katie's here. Watching and listening is here. Robert Adams is here. Great to see you. Cultural oncologist. Big salute. Another big player. Very soon. It's all good, brother. DB Cooper writes. Great to see you. Tall Kevin is here. Wonderful to see you, good friend. You've had shared some fantastic testimony about where you would be right now if it weren't for Going Free, if it weren't for this rapidly growing community. And that is going to help a great many other people who hear that testimony of what you were doing, you up on the treadmill, you getting back into shape, getting healthy, treating the meme pathogens, the diseases that are inside of you, and on the road to health and power. Let's see, cultural oncologist, modern art actually gives me visual aids. But that's good. I like that. I don't know if I just thought of it on the spur of the moment or read it somewhere before, but I was calling the other day modern art spiritual syphilis. Probably came from somebody smarter than me, and I'm just repeating it, and that's fine. So the Gibbon guy is here. Good to see you. The Mormon, Zach is here. White Punch, Eternalism, great to see you. Ooga Booga, love that name. Little Fridge, good to see you. Best of No White Guilt is here. Great to see you. Heidi is here. Great to see you. All right, we got a jam-packed show. We're going to be bringing on the great Jared George after we get through the beginning here, a bit like we did with Clarion the other day. So he has not been terribly privy to the discussion that's been happening since Sunday. And so we're going to go ahead and jump into this, and we will. Well, the first thing I want to do, though, before we get into this, if you could, let me say hello to everybody who is watching right now on Periscope. Can you believe it? Great to see you. Twitch, VK, D Live, of course. A big hello to everybody on D Live. I'll try to remember to get over there and open up the chest and give their money away to you people, however that works. Mixer, everybody on Mixer and Facebook, which tried to tried to put a damper, tried to censor me, saying that the typical anti-white charges, of course. And so we're going to see. I appealed, and we'll see what happens there. Mythark says, Jonathan Bowden said liberalism is moral syphilis. Well, maybe that's where I got it from. I saw him speak in person several times. Magnificent man, great hero for our community and for white well-being. A shame that he's now moved on wherever he is. But we will remember him. Starting at the end of JF show. Thanks for that, David says. Well, I didn't plan it, but if it worked out by fate, then I'm delighted to hear it. Polygon is here. Great to see you. All the sides of those shapes. Zoe is here. Shauna, great to see you. 30-year-old boomer. Katie, White Rider, great to see you. What a fantastic crowd. Total is here. Is that the Australian flag? I can't make it out in your avatar, but magnificent. Great to see you here. I would imagine you all, it's early morning tomorrow there. So it's great to have you with us. Let's see what else I have here. And then we're going to get into this. Very excited about this. We had a big discussion. First, let me do this. I want to give a big welcome and a big thank you to the people who have come over to White Wellbeing and have started going free as a consequence of finding out about no white guilt, going free, white well-being just this Sunday when Clarion was on. They had no idea we existed. They were in the white positive sphere. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very big sphere, the white positive sphere. There are a lot of different beliefs, a lot of different attitudes, different notions, different understandings, etc. Some of them are vehemently at odds. That is the way it is and should be that way. So a lot of these folks didn't even know we existed, and they were heeding this advice of reject white community, which is ultimately, when you boil this down, this argument that some people are making, this reject white community, at least global white community, reject connectivity, global white connectivity, the great white ring that we talk about. Instead, sequester oneself, isolate oneself into tiny communities across the landscape, and focus on yourself. Of course, we focus on ourselves here. That is where we are aligned with that thinking, those admonitions. We focus on health. We focus on mental health, spiritual health, and also bodily health. We have done health and well-being streams. So talking about eating right, working out, etc. No stranger. I'm no stranger to a gym, and I was a college athlete. Had the opportunity to play minor league baseball. So we know what it means to be healthy, and we're helping people in that respect. And many of you can give testimony to that while we're talking here today, physically, mentally, and spiritually. But as seems to be the case, always when we have a little bit of a dust up, we have a slew of new people who come and say, I've never heard of going free. Now I have, even to the point of this anti-white, non-white guy weeks ago. And we brought in, not many, but still some, which is amazing, non-white people to support white well-being. This guy was saying, go over to this, fill in the anti-white slurs channel, look at what he has to say. And of course, what he was saying to them was tear down that channel, flag the videos, everything. Fortunately, it didn't work for them. Instead, and it was one person, and I will just say that he or she is an American Indian. And so a big salute to you and all of the info that you have reached out to me with. You are a hero of one, and glad that you are amongst us. This individual was a big follower of this anti-white, non-white person's. The puzzle pieces didn't fit in the world. He came over, or she came over, to watch what we had to say here at Going Free, and saw that we are a loving movement, that we will lock arms with everybody who will stand up for white well-being, and said to him or herself, this is where I want to be. I want that Western civilization that these white people create. And it's the kind of civilization I want to live in. And so we ardently welcome you. But we also, it's amazing. Thank you all who has just come, all these messages that just came in. who, because of this conversation that Clarion, we came on, she was upset about this millennial or Zoomer guy, Matt, and his what he's doing, which seems to be, he reached out to me, we'll talk about that in a moment, which seems to be not as, at least what he said in private with me, not nearly as radical as some of his friends or followers or supporters said following. But so that video on Sunday, anyhow, so those folks that have come over, big welcome to you. Don't feel afraid to comment in the chat if you are one of those new folks, but don't feel obliged. But we welcome you to the family of Going Free. So thank you for coming here. I want to give a big thank you to Stan and John. Stan and John, you know who you are. Stan, you're a stand-up man. You're a man of your word. I thank you for being so. So thank you for that, Stan and John. I also want to thank Gene for all that he's doing behind the scenes. A big salute to Gene. And I will get back to you about dinner in the very near future, brother. We will make it happen. Let's see. I want to also thank Elliot for being a great hero behind the scenes. All of the just earth-moving work that he does behind the scenes. He deserves, these people all deserve a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please, for the things that they're doing. Thank you all, especially the people I just named. Let's see, who else do we have here that I want to make sure I mention? Oh, they seem to have moved into the next phase of Phil's sentencing. I think there was some sort of appeal. If you all don't remember, Phil Arp was a regular in Poseidon's chat. He occasionally also frequented some of the videos and live streams that we were doing. He was a big supporter, a kind gentleman, a kind heart, wife, children, lived and lives in New Zealand. He made an unwise decision. If you all remember this, I'm not sure. He made an unwise decision to share a video of an atrocity, and the crazy anti-whites that run that country decided that simply for sharing this video. Now, I say it's an unwise decision, not because free speech is unwise, or I say it's unwise because, I mean, if you're standing in front of the firing line, it's unwise to yell fire. So he made an unwise decision. We all make mistakes. I make more than everybody else. So he made an unwise decision. The anti-whites went crazy in New Zealand. They arrested him. He was facing 14 years, I think. And then I think it was, they wanted 14 years. And I think maybe it was potentially going to be 2 years, which is still unbelievable for him to have to be in jail for merely sharing a video in that wretched, that New Zealand, a beautiful country. And of course, our people there who built that country, beautiful, wonderful people. But that government taken over by anti-whites, wretched individuals who would do this to a family man for merely making an ugly decision when it came to a video that who knows how many people actually saw what he reposted. A handful, none. And so we moved on into this next phase for him. He's going to be in jail for some time. We do not have his information. And we've been trying to get his information. What prison is he going to be in? Where can we write him in the community? Where is his wife and children? He's got like 3 or 4 children or something, or 2 children. I don't know exactly what it is. Where are they? How can we help them? If any of you all can help us find out about Phil, any of those questions, please reach out to me. You can do so by Twitter, a direct message. The website is still being fixed. Only about, I think, 20-25% of the emails coming through by way of the website. I apologize for that. You can also reach me by way of the store, which is nowhitecoatcollectibles.com. There's a way to send me messages there. Many folks, resourceful people, have found the way to do that on that website. I didn't even know it could be done. So great to see Seaver Hamlin here. It's Seaver the Achiever, ladies and gentlemen. Seaver the Achiever. Big salute to him and the work that he does for us here in the community for White Wellbeing. So let's find out about Phil, and let's get some help to him while he's locked up, lift his spirits, and to his some financial help, some packages of what have you that we can send in to New Zealand that they won't take away and throw away to his wife and children. So let's make sure we do that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, on No White Guilt on YouTube, if you go all the way down on the front page, you will see that there is a collection of playlists. There are 4 there, but one you can't see, and that's HB 2014, the great HB 2014's playlist, because I haven't added his clips yet. But there are other playlists there, and I expect great things from the folks on these playlists. Moving forward, they have made, of course, like For Null, for example, outrageously inoffensive. Just head on down there. You'll see their clips. They're mirrored. So those of you who, if you end up with a playlist on my channel, bear in mind that your video is going to be visible there, and you are going to be able to bring attention to yourself and your work, maybe be able to segue that into something that can support you and what you're doing in some other way. But it's going to be visible as long as your video is up on your channel. Now, I will be downloading these videos just in case it ends up getting stricken from the internet, and then I can make some adjustments potentially and put it back up. But I'm extremely busy, as you all know. So we have to try to spread this out as much as possible so that help me help you all, sort of a scenario. So these are great heroes. They jumped right in. I mean, the intro video was by For Null, doing amazing work. And I know we're going to see a lot of great things. These are rising stars, as are many of you in the chat right now. Jilly Storm, for example, rising star. She's been here for a long time. So great to see you as well here. Lapis is here. East Coast Podcast is here. The great Mrs. Horst is here. And this is an excellent example of someone who has a large family. I don't know if you all live on a farm, Mrs. Horst, but has a large family, and yet is for white global community, is able to feed and rear all of those children, raise them to be white positive. And she's here, a woman that is worth cherishing and modeling yourself out there. If you're a young lady and you want to know what's the best course, this is the best course. Unlike this wretched commercial I've seen for some, just the other day, for some travel agency, and it shows 2 white mothers. Of course, this is white mothers with their white children, and they have this gray screen, this gray filter over top of the lens to make it look just like their lives are absolutely wretched. And they're looking at these 2 other women who are in a swimming pool, and they're having this great time. And the two women with the babies in the wretched environment and environs say, "How did this happen to us?" And then the guy looks around in this stupid red jacket and he says, "Condoms?" So it's evil for you. Your life is going to be miserable if you're white and you have children. That's what this travel agency, I believe that's what it is teaching white people. And life's going to be so much better. Just like all of these millions of white women whose lives are horrific because they have chosen that course, because they've chosen that course, and now they have treatment after treatment for STDs. They see psychiatrists. They're loaded up on antidepressants. They're surrounded by cats at home. No one will stay with them. They have one story after another of the guy who slept with them and then left. That is what your life ends up being like when you follow the anti-white path of feminism and these other attendant ideologies to that. So yes, follow Mrs. Horst instead. So let's jump over to some of the very quickly positive comments, because we want to keep this moving along, and then I'll see what you all had to say. I don't want to miss anything, especially if you super chatted with your comment or question. So this is just since just a couple. I have so much going on. I could fill probably 5 pages since Sunday. That is how successful we are. That is something that every single one of you should be immensely proud of. But we're just going to very quickly here. Paige writes, "You are amazing," all caps. "Thank you for everything." Now, she's not talking about me. She's talking about going free. She's talking about what she is experiencing by going free, the freedom that she's finally experiencing by going free, the life-changing view of the world that she is experiencing. So thank you very much. When she says you're amazing, it's you, Paige, who is amazing. It's all of you out there who are amazing, who are helping us all to go free, each and every one of us helping each other on this path. We have Nathan back again. Very touching words from Nathan that actually brought tears to Clarion's eyes. Nathan writes, "Jason, I was deeply touched by the sincerity with which you read my testimony and Clarion's heartfelt comments. That support is invaluable to us whites who don't get it from the world at all. It has been a long, arduous road abroad for me. 3 years in Asia, including India, Southern Africa, Egypt, Latin America, and many European countries, even a Pakistani neighborhood in Scotland. I want to elaborate a bit more because I think it will be beneficial for our community. Seeing other countries took me from blue pill to red pill pretty rapidly because I noticed that every non-Western country was made up of exclusively the native population. I was definitely an outsider. I wanted to belong to an in-group and realized I had been robbed of this. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you reject global white community, you don't have an in-group. So keep that in mind as we talk about this tonight. I gleaned all this knowledge via first-hand experience over time without knowing about the cultural warfare taking place in the West. When I put it together, I was enraged for a while and became black-pilled. You, Jason, are the one who genuinely white-pilled me. Stumbling upon the channel, as you rightly put it, was true providence from above, considering how throttled the channel is. It's unbelievable the hope and positivity I feel in the Going Free circle. It has been many years since I've felt it. Without a doubt, your Going Free message is totally different than anything else out there, and it is the only thing I've seen that really, really works. Thank you, my good friend. I am forever in service to the cause, which you are the grand champion of. Nathan, you are the grand champion of it. Those words right there demonstrate it. You are clearly a rising star in this community for white well-being, and I know you will do great things. I know you will bring a great many people, save a great many people from the horrors of white noir inflicted on them by the anti-whites. I know you are not going to allow another white child who comes into your midst to suffer what you had to suffer, a life and a childhood and even an adulthood without a people. You're going to at least try to tell them the truth so that they have a choice, which until that moment they won't. It belongs all to the anti-whites. Their destiny does. And they will lead them into that world where you were. So thank you, Nathan. You are a grand hero. I also want to mention, because we don't, Althea on Twitter, I think we all have recognized, is a workhorse for the community. And we need a big round of applause for Althea. Really, wild emojis for the effort that she makes to help to get the message out there to as many people as possible. And in this dust up with some of these folks who are advocating things that in some ways are perfectly aligned with what we say here in Going Free, but in other ways seems to be pretty contradictory. And we hope that they will change their minds. Althea had a response to some of these detractors of yours truly, who had some pretty heinous things to say, actually. Now, let me just go to this. So Althea wrote on Twitter, so I just want to mention this. I should say, she wrote this in response to a person called Critical Condition, who had tweeted about yours truly, pure projection, when he says that, quote, misery loves company, close quote. The only person who seems miserable is him. Some pretty risible psychologizing, if I could work in the word miserable with risible. She continues here, hard pass on being, quote, mad online and pretending like that's making a difference in any of this. Yes, you shouldn't be mad, even though anger is a virtue when it protects the innocent, young lady. She writes, and I guess this is supposed to be a quote that's not a quote. You know, when they pretend to talk, when people pretend to talk for somebody else and they put it in quotes anyhow. So she says here, and we'll be talking about this a little later. She writes, quote, don't save your money for your family. Give it to me in super chats. Care about me, all caps. And then she writes, LOL, nah. So Althea responds saying, Jason is the most honorable man in white well-being. For you and company to say that Jason shouldn't make a living is reprehensible. It is detrimental to our Going Free community. No other racial group would wish financial hardship on one of their own. And that's something I'm actually going to be talking about. She was mind reading me. She also, or maybe it's just that brilliant minds think alike, or at least it's Althea's the brilliant one. She writes here also, Jason decried Matthew not for living his own life, but for telling others to take up farming in the mountains and prairies. Life isn't working out too well for white South African farmers. This is the white person's crystal ball, if there ever was one. So thank you so much for that, Althea. Absolutely right. You made some great points there. I'm going to see what you all have to say quickly, and then we're going to move into what I have to say about what has happened since Clarion and I signed off. So thank you all for the applause for the great Althea. Let me jump over as well and see if we have any super chats I don't want to miss on any of these other platforms. So you all can super chat by all of the various means that are at your disposal. If you want a question absolutely asked or answered and a statement read. Hey, there's the great Zed Dez, another hero of the community. Tony's here. Jason is here with a fabulous name, I must say. Sterling Price. I've noticed more and more shorter videos of yours being available to watch and share. Very nice, sir. Thank you to all who helped make these videos possible. There is more to come. I'm going to tell you, there is going to be some magnificent work being done. There is magnificent work being done. In fact, Kathy doing the time stamping now as an ongoing process. Much love to her. It is a chore, of course, to timestamp all of these very long videos. And then we're going to have Johnny Scythe, the great Johnny Scythe, is working right now at beginning to pull these out. These are going to be made available. He'll have a playlist on my channel. And then potentially Cultural Oncologist, I believe, will as well. I'm going to be getting back to you, dear sir. Celtic Knight is here. What a great name, Celtic Knight. All right, let me make sure that I haven't missed anybody's comments here. We have Tony says, hello, sir. Stoked you're on tonight. Well, I'm stoked to be here with you. Let me see. Regan King, welcome, brother. Great to see you. There's El Ronder again. A video or case about Phil's or a video, I guess, or you're asking, or article, I see, about Phil's case. There are articles. I would type in New Zealand, Philip Arps, and some articles will come up. But we need to find out more about that. Your camera angle is off and cutting off the top of your head. Not your great message. It's cutting off the top of my head. Well, maybe am I sitting too close? It doesn't appear to be cutting off my head here. Maybe it's just on your device. If I'm being decapitated, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll let me know. But it might be an improvement. Some of you might be delighted with that. DF, super chatting $1.99 in honor of my European ancestors. Amen. And thank you for that. And I will be, you made a great suggestion in one of the threads. We will be taking a look at that. Mrs. Horse, super chatting $9.99. Great to see you, of course. As I was saying earlier, I'm writing, we live in the city cesspool of California. Oh my gosh. Wretched. I'm sorry to hear that. We are white positive, going free. Husband works day and night, 7 days a week. Family is the most important children labor of love. NWG, no white guilt forever. Amen to you. God bless you. Thank you for adding your testimony. Irish Rose, super chatting £5. Love your work. Got quite an arm on that girl to be able to throw the money all the way across the pond. And but lovely to see you. That's a great picture there. You and the little Keck guy, it looks like. So great to see you. Thank you for being here. Let me make sure on the familiar alternative, there's nothing there. I did receive, I guess it was the €1 over on Tippy, and or at least they're claiming that. I don't know. There might be one heck of a surcharge for using that. If you folks, you might not want to use Tippy. We'll find out more. We'll see. But we want to provide you with the best means to disseminate your participation in a way that you feel like that you are concealing your identity or protecting yourself. Any extra layers that you want to use, we try to provide that for you. Eternalism says no to Gillette. Sterling Price, great to see you. I feel wonderful tonight and hope it's contagious. It is contagious. Robert says that for him, the camera angle is fine. I haven't been decapitated. Well, to the chagrin of the anti-whites, I can assure you. You can tag me, of course, as Gardening with NWG or No White Guilt, and I will see them both with questions or comments. It's a little less likely than Patricia here. She says, it seems is the channel, Gardening with NWG is the channel I get the most notifications from. Isn't that interesting? Thank you for sharing that little tidbit of information, but great to see you. Patricia's here. Unpopular Politics is here. Adam Scott is here. Great to see you all over there on the gardening channel. Adam Scott says, Gardening with the White Girl, hilarious golden nugget in my previous comments. This is from Adam Scott. I will have to, the writing over here on this monitor is tiny. I'm not going to be able to, unfortunately, see that, but we'll circle back if we have time to do so. We can't be on all night tonight, even though I would like to be with you all. So really quickly, what ended up happening on Sunday was Clarion came on. She reached out to me. She said she wanted to talk about this situation with a person who had been in the movement and in the white positive sphere, I should say, because you have to talk about things the way they are if you're going to understand them. You got to give things their proper names. So there is a white positive sphere. This Zoomer millennial Matthew was in this white positive sphere, and one sphere within the sphere, whatever he was up to, I don't know. I didn't know of him. She knew who he was. She followed him, and he eventually came to the conclusion that he was upset about X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to speak for him, and decided he wanted to leave the white positive sphere, which he has absolutely every right to do. And but according to Clarion, what he ended up doing was he began making a case to others in the white positive sphere to leave it as well. And so and she said people were listening to him. He was gaining a following. And of course, we know, we could talk about this a little bit more later, maybe so, maybe not, but we know that wherever there is potential for division, when suddenly a bunch of voices show up to support the division, that there are practices and policies in place implemented by anti-whites where they have openly said that we stoke division to weaken the white positive sphere. Of course, they call it by anti-white slurs, but we call it for what it is. So she wanted to come on and talk about this, and she did. She came on, she talked about it, she was passionate about it. And what I added to this is that if this is the case, I gave a number of caveats. If you were with us Sunday night, you'll know that this was the case. So maybe we have misunderstood him in some way. We don't want to be misrepresenting him. But if he is making this decision, if this is accurate, that's a cowardly decision that would make him a coward, this sort of thing. And then we asked him to change his mind and to return to the white positive sphere, if that indeed was an accurate understanding of his decision and what he was doing. So we had plenty of caveats, and we were open to, I just saw a hiccup in the stream. I don't know if you all saw that or not, but there was a hiccup in the matrix. I hope the agents don't kick the doors in. I'm ready if they do, though, rest assured. So to tickle them to death. So we gave plenty of caveats. We said, look, this guy, we might be misunderstanding. There are a lot of things that could happen there. But Matt's followers and friends, for them, there were no caveats. It was immediate attack against yours truly. So essentially, let me discuss what I believe to be the differences here between the two positions, because they seem like in many ways there is an alignment of thought. So they seem to believe in isolation. Now, this is the moving away, and we call this, we say that such people that do this and advocate this are cravens. That if you're arguing that you should move away to some boondocks and start a commune or whatever it might be, just like they did in Zimbabwe and in South Africa, as has been done elsewhere by white people, because it seems like such an obvious thing to do, this isolation, this build a redoubt, build a castle, that is isolationism, isolationist. and it's not going to work out well for you. We, in Going Free, argue for the opposite in this respect, that we argue for global white interconnectivity, this connectivity of the entire white race, a white community being built, centered in dialectics and a lexicon that enable us to become a people again, a people out of the deracinated race of the white race. Now, this is not this. We will draw a very distinct dividing line between what we refer to as this isolationist craven behavior of just think about yourself, move out to the boondocks or a shed in the woods, and with some other people with their sheds in the woods, and then you just sit out there and wait until people like No White Guilt and others save the day, all of you save the day, and then show up and say, oh, you don't have to live in the boondocks anymore. Because if we don't save the day, you all are not going to survive. That's why we refer to those who do that as cravens. Now, I'm drawing a distinct line between doing that and, say, moving out of a dangerous neighborhood, especially if you're going to rear a family. For God's sakes, you move out of a dangerous place so that you can continue. You redeploy. Those who have been in the military, like myself, you know this terminology. You redeploy someplace else. You take a new high ground, but you don't ever say, well, that's theirs now, and we're just going to surrender it. You find a safe place to be. We argue that if possible, we should have a great mini community stretched all across Western civilization of various sizes, never isolating yourself, because the moment you isolate yourself, the anti-whites are going to be able to easily destroy you. You know, you take over that little town in Timbuktu, and then suddenly the federal government, with your tax dollars, is going to move, 50% of your population, of your population's worth, or maybe 150% of your population's worth of anti-white non-whites from someplace in the world to your community. And then what are you going to do? And then it's over. You all are not thinking ahead. We need to be enmeshed throughout the totality of Western civilization. We cannot try to hide somewhere because it's too easy to identify where we are. How about this? How about just a rich anti-white decides to build a poultry factory in your little town that you've taken over, and suddenly they're shipping in thousands of workers from south of the border because they're wonderful people. They'll work for cheaper and they're very efficient, etc. You can tell by the look of their countries, and then suddenly those are your neighbors. So we need to be, if we can be in proximity to each other, wonderful. If we can buy from each other either online or face-to-face, that's what we should be doing. If we can support each other online and face-to-face, that's what we should be doing. But that is the big dividing line between what we argue and this other position, which is just run out to the hills somewhere. Don't worry about the rest, the broader white race. Focus on just yourself and just your family and just any other white families that you bring with you. And you know the outcome of that throughout history. It has always been the same. So that is really this great white ring around planet Earth that we talk about here in Going Free versus the Zimbabwean approach. So, I mean, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe that approach will somehow magically work. I don't see how logically it could work, but I will say maybe. And also, if I am that is really, when you reduce this to what the difference is, that's really the difference. A lot of these folks, they're saying, take care of your body, take care of your families, take care of your health. We say and all the same things. The difference is they say hate on, reject the white positive sphere, reject this global connectivity of the white race, reject building a global community. It's too big for you. It's too big to accomplish anything. And doesn't this sound like poison pills from hell? It's too big. It's too much. Just worry about your little family and in your little community, and reject all of that collectivity. Be individualist. So that's really all that's left of the differences. Otherwise, it's very similar. We say absolutely that without a set of concepts, lexicon, dialectics, to provide a unified empowerment to our people, that we absolutely will perish. And of course, we believe in building global community. As I say, Matt wrote me and in private, and we had a little bit of back and forth and polite back and forth, and really seems like we agree on all of those things I said where we find agreement. Regrettably, though, there are a lot of his friends and followers, and maybe some of these people are actual people, maybe some of them, who knows what's going on. But regrettably, some of them have really behaved reprehensibly, and I mean really reprehensibly, and most notably of those who have behaved reprehensibly and attacked yours truly without, just absolutely spurious attack, is of course this critical condition woman who added a tweet or a comment or on a Twitter thread that I read earlier. These people have been attacking me using anti-white slurs. Isn't that interesting? Using a bunch of anti-white slurs. They also, one of them made a picture which I thought was hilarious. It was of me as a member of one of these little communities. And it looked like it had like a big beaver on his head, and I've had plenty of offers, and some Shylocks or something down the side, and then did some blur effect to make my nose bend down. And I actually was going to print that out and share that, but I thought, wow, the censors at YouTube will say I'm making fun of that community, even though it's me in the photograph, and then boom, the channel's gone. But I want you all to know, those of you who are going to do stuff like that, there is no one on planet Earth that can laugh harder at me than me. None of that will ever have any effect. So thank you for the try. Thank you for the attempt. But it's just, that's not going to work as far as intimidating me or anything of that nature. So it was funny. Could have been funnier. You could have done a better job, but that's okay. It was good. I saved it. I'll have it for my friends for a good laugh. So then they said things like that what we do here, these friends and followers of Matt, which by the way, he has not decried the things they're saying. Regrettably, Matt has not come forward and said, what are you all saying? Why are you making these idiotic claims about no white guilt? None of that is true. They're all saying things like, what we talk about here is defending some old regime, and that's all we're ever talking about here. What in the world? That is just totally a spurious comment to misrepresent us and what we do here in Going Free. Absolute nothing but bald-faced lies from these people. So they say that we advocate things like bringing back some old regime from some earlier period in black and white history. That is bizarre. That is such a ridiculous lie. So what Matt should do, what I'd like to see Matt do, is to step up and say to these people or maybe he should tweet this and say to these folks who are making up these outrageous lies, knock it off. This guy isn't doing any of that. This community of people, it's not just me, because when they're attacking no white guilt, they're attacking all of you. They're saying that all of you Going Free, all of you who are serving white well-being and helping, those of you who have gotten off the path to suicide, those two of you who've gotten off the path to suicide, those two couples who have produced babies as a result of Going Free, those individuals who have gotten off drug and drink and who are on the treadmill during the streams, they're saying all of you are supporting some old regime, and that it's always about this talk about this old regime. We'll be talking about why they might be doing that. So I think it's about it. Really, Matt should come out and say anybody who's saying that sort of thing is an idiot, and he rejects them if they're going to continue speaking that way. But I want to say this. I know what's going on inside the hearts of these people. I can see it. It is sad. It is plain as day. And so because of what is actually going on inside their hearts, I want you all to know I forgive you, especially critical condition. I particularly forgive you for this heinous statement you made about my reputation, this attack on my reputation. I forgive you all because I know what's going on in your hearts. And we're going to talk about that right now. And then as soon as we're done, we'll be bringing on the great Jared George to talk about some other things. So the reason why I'm saying that I forgive all of these folks, friends and followers of Matt's, for these vicious anti-white attacks, attack on my reputation, on my character, attacks on all of that, is because these people followed bad advice. And we're all fallible, we make mistakes, but doing what's right is what defines whether or not you have a good character as a man, as a woman. Acknowledging where you are wrong and then making the right choice, taking the right course. These people came into the white positive sphere and they followed some bad advice. Now, maybe the advice came from people who were egoists, probably so, people who put themselves out front and said, hey, everybody, you know, they wanted to be looked at. They wanted to have a spotlight on them, and they were willing to walk on skulls to get there to do it. Maybe they followed the advice of someone who is working for the regime. I don't know. But the bottom line is they followed bad advice, and they ended up having bad outcomes. But rather than say, you know what, I have agency. I'm responsible for what I do. I'm an adult. I'm responsible for what I do. I have agency. I have volition. And I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't think about what was being recommended to me hard enough. I didn't look into this deeply enough. Or maybe you did, and you are young and naive still, and you ended up getting burnt. And there was a lesson there for you, if that's what happened. That you ended up heeding the words of some egoist, and you couldn't tell the difference between an egoist and an honest champion. And so there's a learning opportunity for you there. If you're hearing my voice, you can say, you know what, I'm going to be responsible for making that decision, heading down this path. I now know what an egoist looks like, or what potentially someone working for some anti-white organization pretending to be someone in the white positive sphere. I now know what they look like. I now know that we should know people by their fruits, as we say here very often. And because of that, I'm going to accept responsibility for my decision to follow them, and I'm going to make wiser decisions in the future. That is what healthy people do. Adults don't throw adult tantrums, and that is what this is. It is an adult tantrum. You have people who came into the white positive sphere. I've seen it before. They end up following someone that they shouldn't follow. They don't do their due diligence, or like I said, they're still learning because they're quite young. They end up doing something that harms themselves as a consequence, involving themselves in something that harms themselves, etc. Maybe ignoring somebody like me along the way. And instead of learning from that experience and saying that they are responsible for their actions, these people, like the folks who have been slandering me, they then say, it's not me. It's that whole sphere of people out there that are to blame for the harm I did to myself. I'm not going to blame me for this. Oh, no, it's all their fault. People that have nothing to do with it, people that are doing great and glorious things for our folk, have nothing to do with the decision they make and the people they choose to follow. And yet these selfish people who are they're not going to take responsibility for their actions. They want to blame everybody else. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a tantrum. This is akin to having going to a doctor, having a pain in the upper right quadrant, and going to the doctor and saying, I've got this pain, and the doctor is a shyster. He or she is a criminal, just wants the next Maserati payment out of you. And doctor says, we need to take that gallbladder right out. And you say, okay, no research, no going to get a second and third opinion, your body, and yet you've just turned it all over to this stranger. And then you have the gallbladder taken out. And then you live with the consequences of not having a gallbladder, and the pain and the problems eating and the digestion issues and etc. And then turning around and saying, this isn't my fault. This is the fault of medicine. All doctors, whether they are traditional or whether they pursue homeopathy or whatever they are, this whole sphere of doctoring is at fault. And so now I'm going to recommend to people, never go to a doctor again. Never go to a hospital again, they're going to say, because look at what they did to me. Talk about a myopic, selfish, irresponsible position to take. These are not adults. These are children in adult bodies. This is neoteny writ large across an entire group of people, ladies and gentlemen. The adult thing to do in that situation, if you had your gallbladder removed and you were suffering the consequences, is to say, I did this to myself. I made the decision to not have due diligence. I decided to not go talk to other physicians. I decided not to do my own research. And so in the future, I'm not going to make such errors. In the future, I'm going to research. I'm going to take the volition for myself, my safety, my health, etc. And I'm going to be in charge, and this won't happen again. That is the proper thing to do. That is not what is happening with this group who is attacking me. They are having adult tantrums. They need to take responsibility for their decisions. The next thing they do is they admonish these group of people who are attacking me. They admonish people to, in the white positive sphere, they're going around admonishing folks to get off social media. Stop talking about the socio-political situation for Western kind. Instead, they say, go out, isolate yourselves. And ultimately, this isolationism is hyper-individualism, isn't it? It is hyper-selfishness. They say, and we agree with this, get away from the cities, unless there are other circumstances that being in a city will be important to you. Buy a farm in the hills, nothing wrong with farms. We have many people who farm who are going free, and they are some of our proudest and hardest working members on farms, raising livestock, raising beautiful white children, going free, taking the message to their friends and family, seeing the white people, not just a stone's throw from their house as their brothers and sisters, but the white people on the other side of the globe as their brothers and sisters. That is true white community. That is heroism. What's interesting about this admonition, that this group of people who are slandering me, that this admonition to get off social media, don't embrace the broader white community and move out, individualize, sequester yourself, isolate yourself so you're good and alone out there in the wilderness for the anti-whites to collectively come after. They don't get off social media. All of this arguing to get off social media, and they are there on social media talking endlessly to all of these people in the white positive sphere about getting off social media and doing all of these things. Isn't that curious? If they feel so firmly about getting off social media and doing these things, then just do it. Go away. Stop making this case to others. Stop telling them to follow you down this dangerous road. It's a very interesting thing. Why they're not living what they preach. Why they're not living by their precepts. I mean, you all who are making these statements about get off social media, move out to the farm, and isolate yourself. You all right now should be buying Ridgeback dogs, shouldn't you? So that you, like those other whites, our brothers and sisters who made this ignorant decision, can wait in your little farm until it's surrounded by anti-white non-whites, and those Ridgeback dogs won't do a damn thing to save you. So you all should be going out. Why aren't you breeding the Ridgeback puppies right now? Breeding them by the dozens. You will know people by their fruits, ladies and gentlemen. So if someone is saying to you that you need to get off social media and isolate yourself, but they're not getting off social media, know them by their fruits. What good does it serve white well-being to take the Zimbabwean approach? South Africa did it. Other places have done it. And you see the outcome. So why follow a path that you know will be sanguinary? Why not follow a path that is sanguine? White well-being, going free. Know them by their fruits. Now, there is something called Hanlon's razor. And that means that you don't attribute malice or to an act or a statement or whatever, malice, where ignorance will suffice. So we're not saying that any of these people who are coming out of the woodwork and slandering yours truly and making up these outrageous lies, we're not saying that they are necessarily anti-whites who are just pretending to be white positive, although they could be. According to Hanlon's razor, they're probably just ignorant in the truest sense of the word. They just don't know. They don't understand. That doesn't mean they're dumb. They could be, but it doesn't mean they can learn. Before you know something, you don't know it. And so when you learn, you can then make the right decision. We've talked about that before. Mark has said the same thing, in that, it's not like we're sitting here in a physics classroom and somebody walks into the first day of class, and then we take one of the most complicated problems in physics and throw that at them and say, what do you mean? You don't understand? What, are you dumb? No, we allow people time to learn. So some of these people might just be ignorant. Some of them might be malicious. We'll see, because we'll see their continuing comments. If they continue with these kinds of comments and they continue these sorts of attacks, we'll know where they're coming from, what their objectives are. And ladies and gentlemen, you will know them by their fruits. Now, they say that you should go out and have white babies. We need white babies. Don't you understand? We need white babies. This sounds a lot like the virtue trapping I did a video on that was being aimed at our women in the cause, saying that they shouldn't be doing anything but having babies because we need more babies. Ladies and gentlemen, every white woman could have 10, 20 babies, and we are not going to outbreed the non-whites. That is, everyone knows this with any sense. We do want more white babies. We do want the heartbeat. We do need there to be a heartbeat, a living heartbeat of a man, a woman, and white children to be at the center of going free. And that is happening with a great many of you. It is growing fast. This is why the anti-whites hate it. But by the same token, don't allow yourself to be virtue trapped into this idea that you are going to outbreed the non-white populations of the world. There is no amount of babies you can push through and catch up to them, much less pass them. No, we need a totally different approach. Not only to say that, but what good will it do you if you produce a bunch of white children that end up being anti-white because you don't have the proper dialectics, you don't have the proper lexicon to inoculate them with. And when they hear you say in your vapid, feckless, conservative way or patriotic way that, well, this is wrong or that is wrong, all of those ways of the past, ladies and gentlemen, have proven that they're failures. The anti-whites have the key to unlock that. They have the key to get into your kids' brains. Going free is a way to inoculate them. So you're going to end up with, you have 10 children, you're going to end up with 8 of them that become anti-white and 2 of them that hold on and believe themselves to be evil for doing so. If you go with the conservative ideas or the patriotic ideas, they can't win to the anti-white moral system, for God's sakes. If you really can't see that, maybe you are dumb. Because if all this losing can't prove to you that it's losing over all of the centuries, if you can't see that all of that losing is just going to produce more losing, then you are challenged indeed. The people who are also saying this and attacking me and going free, attacking all of you, they also create a fake or false dichotomy. Now, that is the true sign of a liar, ladies and gentlemen. That is a true sign of a saboteur when they make the false dichotomy argument. So what do they say when it comes to the white positive sphere, going free, yours truly? They say, well, you can look after yourself. You can better your health. You can go out there and find a wife or a husband. You get a farm. You can rear a family. Or you can go with them over there and you can LARP in the streets with old uniforms and old flags. That is a false dichotomy as the day is long. That is nowhere near your options. But they create that false dichotomy, just like anti-whites do all the time, because it works in their favor. No evidence for it. They're not finding any clips of me saying any of that nonsense. They're not finding, they said, several of them have been saying, well, you can do all of this with the family and the love and the children, or you can go over with him and believe that there's a political solution. We've never said that. We've never said any of these things. These folks are liars, and we hope that they will come clean and do the right thing and go free. But that's yet to be seen. They also admonish everyone to a blinkered focus on self. This just yourself, not your community, yourself, and therefore yourself, your health, your family, the immediate family. And then maybe if you have a couple of other white families that live here or there, maybe you give them a little bit of help too, but mostly yourself. Doesn't that sound like the zeitgeist that the anti-whites have taught us? The me age. That's what this is. This is everybody who attributes to the radical selfishness that people attribute to the boomer generation. That is what these folks are arguing for. Just yourself. Just worry about you. Let me tell you something, guys. If you are not worrying about your community, our community of Western kind, if you are not worrying about our community, you are not worrying about your family. Or do you only care about your children as long as you're alive to see them with a smile on their face? Is that as far as your love goes, as deep as it goes? Is the selfishness of joy that you feel when they smile? Or does your love go deeper than that? Does your love go to the very essence of our biospirit to ensure that their smiles last long after you are dead? To the smiles of their children and their children and the white family, not only down the street, but on the state over or the country over. How deep is your love? How shallow is your love? Because if you only care about how you feel when your children smile or your wife smiles, then you are a selfish bastard. You're no man. You're no father. You're a loser. You have an opportunity to climb that ladder out of that hole. You don't have to be that way for life. You have the decisions you can make. You have agency. And we will give you that helping hand as we do to many others. So almost done. We'll bring Jared George on, and then I'll take a look at some of your statements. Let's see. These people also talk about the ones slandering me. They talk about how participating in the white positive sphere prevented them from improving themselves. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Participating in the white positive sphere prevented them from these very basic things in life. Prevented them from doing these very basic things, taking care of themselves, looking out for themselves. Let me ask you, all of those people who were making those boorish, inane, doltish claims, what were you doing for white well-being? What were you doing in the white positive sphere that was so time-consuming you couldn't eat a healthy diet? That was so time-consuming and energy-consuming that you couldn't work out? That was so time and energy-consuming that you couldn't plan your future? You couldn't go on a date? Nothing, you liars. Nothing. You were doing nothing that took all the time, that you couldn't do those very basic things in life. You couldn't do your schoolwork. You want to blame all of this. Blame your F's on the white positive sphere rather than your own lazy ass. Blame the fact that you don't have a girlfriend or a wife on the white positive sphere rather than on you not getting out there and doing what you have to do to be the kind of man to earn a woman's hand, to pick the right woman, and to have her choose you. You want to blame everyone else. There was nothing you were doing. What an ignorant claim that the white positive sphere prevented you from doing these very basic things. And let me tell you something. If you are so intellectually, mentally challenged, I mean, there are handicapped people out there. If you are so challenged that the very simplest things of life, like eating a proper diet or working out or getting a date or planning your future or saving money, if all of that is so hard for you, you can't pass out leaflets. And by the way, I've been doing this for decades. I've worked on the Hill. I've had prestigious jobs. If you can't do these very basic things and do a podcast, write a blog, pass out leaflets, get onto a chat thread, and try to bring some people to White Wellbeing. If you can't do these basic things and do this little bit over here, not to mention all of the videos that people like Poseidon make, Jared George make, Mark Collette makes, Dr. Patrick Slattery makes, all of these people, all of the work they're doing. These people somehow succeed in life. But for you just weren't able to do anything. You weren't able to save for your family, take care of your family. What about Mrs. Horst? She's able to participate with all of those children running around and taking care of them, rearing happy families. There are others out there too. What about Lacey Lynn, who's rearing a family, loving husband, being a loving mother and a loving wife, and making content for the well-being of our people? What about the people that like Schlafly, who she looks to? If you are not man enough to be a woman and get all these things done, then please do leave. Please do. If it's so hard for you to get passing grades, if it's so hard for you to save $1, if it's so hard for you to get to go to work, if it's so hard for you to go to the gym or to care for your children, that you can't do anything else in the world, then please leave. Please, you are challenged, and I feel sorry for you that you're thus challenged. But this is definitely not the place for you. So let me be the first to warn you off that you're going to have to be able to do things like care for your children, as well as pass out some leaflets or get on a message board and make some comments to help people go free. So yeah, just please care for your children, save your money, stop making, like, for example, all of these people who are making videos, who make videos and then also slander me. Stop making videos. Just go take care of your family. You shouldn't be doing this kind of thing. It's too hard. Let me see. Next, the final thing is these folks also say that they come into this and they have this question. They come into the white positive sphere and they ask, what can the white positive sphere, they have this mentality, what can the white positive sphere do for me? What can it do for me? Well, spoken like a parasite at a welfare office. Get the hell out. Absolutely don't let the door hit you in the ass. Just get the hell out. If you are going to deserve this life that you woke to, you have to contribute. And if you're going to show up and the first thing out of your mouth is, what can this white positive sphere do for me? Then we definitely don't need you. We don't need parasites draining the good work that we're doing. We don't need groups going out into the hinterland and setting up little communities and just praying and this is disgusting, using Christianity as a crutch to say, oh, God's going to do it for me, like a disgusting little brat of a child. Could you imagine a father, a creator, how that would, I assume it would be something like, it would be taken something like a parent when a child says, Mom, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to believe in you, Mom and Dad, and you'll do this for me. You'll do it all for me. That's disgusting to use Christianity that way, as a crutch like that. So if you come here looking for what you can get out of it, then yeah, this isn't right for you either. I will do your due diligence for you. I'll just let you know. It's not going to end well. You're going to have to contribute. That's how this works. That's how we build community. You're going to have to be a hero, not a consumer. You'll get uncounted riches out of this, spiritual riches. But you're not going to come into this and suddenly have a 6-figure job, suddenly be living high on the hog, suddenly have the best man or the best woman, whatever it is that you want. So this is what I wanted to say. These people are coming after me with something called support shaming, which is a subcategory of road blocking, which is why you saw that in the title. This is the actions of a saboteur. It's pure sabotage. Nobody in any of these other races is saying, no, you absolutely should not give that group that is fighting for us, that has, and by the way, folks, these groups, these big organizational entities that serve their non-white communities. They were started by individuals. Non-whites are not coming forward and saying and shaming, trying to shame the people who are going to stand up and fight for their community out of receiving $1 for doing so. No, and they give. They don't give $2 and $5, etc. super chats. These organizations pull in millions of dollars from their communities a year. No one is support shaming them in their communities. What does that tell you about the people who support shame me? Who say, don't save your money for your family. Give it to me in super chats, care about me, who tweet things like that. What other race of people has members of their community who support shame people who fight for them? No one, not a single one. And that should tell you everything you need to know about people who support shame and roadblock us in that way. Now, you can make mistakes. You could have done this sort of sabotage and just been jealous. I mean, surely there are people. Now, this is different than those who are out here fighting for you, for our people, are markedly different from the merchant right, which we saw come into existence. And I predicted for all of you would come into existence as soon as we reached a point that it would appear that there would be money to be made. When I said that as soon as there appeared that there was money to be made, that resourced people, capitalized people, connected people, and you can name them, will suddenly show up on the scene, and they'll suddenly start parroting all the things that we've been saying for year after year, all the things that I've been doing, for example, Mark Collette's been doing year after year after year, and they'll get in front of you and they'll sell their wares, they'll sell their products. You can name you can name them. A lot of them are ladies that have gotten. I was surprised by that. I didn't know that was coming. I thought it was going to be more like 50-50 male, female of this merchant right showing up. But instead it was really weighted in favor of, unfortunately, in favor of women who showed up, said a lot of the things that we were saying, ended up making thousands and thousands of dollars a month, thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And by the way, they weren't immediately support shamed. And those were people who were clearly merchant right. And then it ends up, they demonstrate their merchant right. How do they demonstrate it? Well, some of them drop out completely, where guy or gal. I mean, you could think of, we could name like Cernovich, for example. They come in, they make a bunch of money, and then they disappear. They say, well, I'm giving this up now, made my money, and I'm moving on to another economic opportunity. Some of them come in and they have the white positive comments as long as the energy there, as long as there's the money to be made. And then as soon as that starts drying up a little bit, well, then they start clawing back. Now it's about patriotism. Now it's about conservatism. Now it's about nationalism versus you still have, and they're demonstrating with that they were merchant right from the beginning. What do you hear from people like me and Mark Collette, Jared George? The same line, the same fight for white well-being, irrespective of the amount of money that is there potentially to be made. And I've been saying all along, there's no money to be made, regrettably, because we don't have the big donors coming in. We talked about that with Mr. Pie as an example. We have hardworking, blue-collared people who give the tiny little bit, and they have to give up things in their lives to be able to give a tiny little bit. And every penny, every pence, every little euro cent is as valuable as $1 million from a Mr. Pie. Because I know what they have to go through to get that to me, to Jared George, to Mark Collette. We appreciate every bit. So damn you all. Shame on you for trying to support shame those who are actually in this fight for our people, as I have been for year after year, for decades now. You can all go straight to hell. And all of you, you remember back in the day, many of you, before the internet, you'd have guys would get up on a telephone and they would have big words on a telephone. Man, I'm gonna whoop your ass, thus and such or whatever, on a telephone, because they were far away. Well, none of these fools are ever going to meet me out somewhere and try to support shame me. Guaranteed. because you're not going to attack my character and the good work that I'm doing, which will harm the good work that I'm doing for our people. And that will be the reason why I retaliate, because you will inhibit my ability. You will inhibit all of their ability to do good for our race, to do good for our people, to protect our white babies. You will inhibit and undermine that with this asininity of support shaming, trying to support shame me and others like me. So you know why I get so mad when you do something like that? It's because I won't be able to be as effective to protect those little white babies, those little white children from the anti-whites. If you are able to convince white people out there that, oh, this guy or that guy or the no white guilt guy, any of these folks, they just want money. They just want your shekels. You all are bitches. You're absolute bitches. I have seen your types before. I have no problem wading right through you like water. So we know you for who you are. This whole community will know you for who you are. You continue to assail in the absolute sterling integrity and history that we have built. I have always said we will know each other by our most recent deeds, every one of my deeds, to my dying breath. And if I'm able to act after I'm dead, you better believe it'll still keep happening. Every single one will serve white well-being, as I have been doing since 7th grade. So this is the final, and I'll bring on Mr. George, and I'll see what you all have to say. This is the final thing I'm going to say, is this one sentence. I didn't find this somewhere. It just occurred to me. And that is this: the tree that is never pruned grows ugly and weak. So occasionally there are times that we're going to have a lot of growth, and then we're going to have to shear off a lot of it. This might be one of those times. And if you're one of the ones that need to go, then please do just go. So let me go ahead and see. I will bring in Jared George, but I'll bring him up on stage so we can see him on the screen. But I'm going to turn to your super chats quickly, and then we will go off into, there's some great news articles. I know you all had questions about the Joker movie, and Jared has some observations that he's made. Really excited to hear that. So I'm going to bring him on. Jared, just hold off. You can stay muted, but I'm going to bring you on, and then we will, I'll read these super chats. And we have Blatant Arrogance X super chatting $10. Not usually able to catch your streams when I have extra cash. Oh, and it is X, not 10. Ah, fantastic. Blatant Arrogance. I like that name. 10. Thank you so much for that kind contribution to White Wellbeing. Thank you for being here and regularly, and for those hard-earned dollars that you have. Let me make sure we don't have anything anywhere else. We have Zero Talon from, oh boy, looks like we had Zero Talon, $2 over on the Familiar Alternative. Thank you so much, my kind friend. You're so right, Jason. I've had a serious case of white noir growing up in California public education, but the failing of our own life is our own fault. Be productive, be prosperous, be a man, be in service to white well-being. God bless you. What a hero. Let's get a round of applause for Zero Talent here, day in and day out, doing the right thing and sharing the right sentiments. Raymond, of course, as well, $10. Raymond super chatting over on the Familiar Alternative. Thank you, my good sir. Just a little something from my family, from his family. He can have a family and serve white well-being. Salute to you, Raymond. And saying, you save lives in more ways than many can begin to understand. We are getting the tools to fight back with verbiage. We are going free. Can't wait for your next book. Amen to you. Thank you, my dear friend. Zero Talon, also $2 on the Familiar Alternative. Thank you so much. Hail, brother. Health to you. Check my last donation to White Wellbeing at the end of the last stream. Some of us would prefer an audio book. I will be making an audio book, potentially, I guess, of Go Free, but I was thinking of Prometheus Rising first. We'll see. The previous stream, the final super chat that came in after we concluded the previous stream on Sunday, $2 by Zero Talent. Thank you very much. Here's a better version of the This Land song. Also, when will you release an audiobook version of Born Guilty? I recognize I will miss a special part of the book but I prefer to listen. Watch the 90-second link. I will watch that 90-second link, and I will see if I can share it with the chat of this land is our land, this land is my land, this land is your land, that many of us in the United States, and you can share if elsewhere around the world you were white as a child and forced to sing this wretched song about turning over what your ancestors had bequeathed to you to strangers. How monstrous that the anti-whites would do that. Thank you, Zero Talon, for everything that you're doing. Let me jump over here and see if I will get these platforms refreshing, and we will see if anybody has super chatted comments to the comments and super chats to the comments I made in the dialogue or monologue at the beginning, and we will open up entropy. While that does, Tall Kevin writing, anyone still confused as to what exactly critical conditions said? I can read it again if anybody is. You can write it in the question widget, which is where I just found Tall Kevin's statement or question. Thank you very much for being here, brother. Red Eagle says Joker movie is anti-white. Joker is a white loser with a black girlfriend, and all the people he kills are white. Typical Holly something trash, Hollywood trash. We know what you mean there, brother. And thank you very much for that. Let's see over here on entropy what we have. We have wow. Ladies and gentlemen, get your applause ready. Get your applauding emojis and etc. ready. And we are wild emojis. Click down that screen, get it ready. And as I said, I'm going to finish up with this, and then we'll go into the second part of the show, which we have Jared George to participate in. So Dan, over on Entropy, super chatting $50 Australian from the other side of the world. See, Dan on the other side of the world, not just the trailer down the hill from me. $50 Australian. Thank you. White positive sphere prevents self-improvement? Question mark. I was an overweight alcoholic. Listen to this. I was an overweight alcoholic guzzling beer and eating crap every day. Jason, Jared, Mark, and Go Free took me from the gates of hell to the road to Prometheum. You all inspire me every day. I'm going to read that again. Huge round of applause for Dan. Please, ladies and gentlemen, this is magnificent. $50 Australian. Super chatting, not on Entropy, I apologize. Correct myself, on YouTube. Writing, quote, the white positive sphere prevents self-improvement? Question mark. I was an overweight alcoholic guzzling beer and eating crap every day. Jason, Jared, Mark, and Go Free took me from the gates of hell to the road to Prometheum. You all caps, inspire me every day. You inspire me, Dan. I know what that is like. I have seen our folks absolutely stricken with mean pathogens, crippled with white noir, white flighting into beer, white flighting into Dorito bags, white flighting into drugs, white flighting into obesity sicknesses all around. You are one of our heroes. You are the inspiration. God bless you. Thank you so much for being a participant in this community. And now, ladies and gentlemen, another round of wild emojis. Tall Kevin over on Entropy. Tall Kevin super chatting $300. $300. Tall Kevin is not Mr. Pie. Tall Kevin is a working class gentleman. Like when we had Edgar Allan Poe, working class gentleman, making a statement with this money, going without to make a statement to the rest of the world. Because $300, as princely a sum as it is, $300 is not going to buy us the organizational entity that we can use to advance white well-being. Every penny is going to be used to saving white children to the best of our ability. And I am trained at this. I have worked at making a dollar, making every penny go a long way. Tall Kevin is giving that $300 as a testimony, a statement to the entire world about what he is doing, what we are doing, that we're not going to take it anymore, that he's going to be free, that we all are going to protect our babies, that an end is going to be put to this anti-whiteism. Writing, the fact anti-whites see white well-being as something wrong is proof they want us abusing substances, harming ourselves, and ruining our relationships with our family and community. Not anymore, anti-whites. Never. Damn right. Tall Kevin said that he would have been, in a previous show, drunk rather than on a treadmill listening to this stream. What a hero. A big salute to Tall Kevin as well. White Rider super chatting over on YouTube. $2. Thank you so much, White Rider. Great to see you again. You know what? I think that is the Knight Rider car in white in your emoji. That is sweet. I have never seen anything like that. Very cool. Writing, individualism is collective isolation. Beautifully said. We have brilliant people in the cause for white well-being, in service to white well-being. Thank you, sir. Odin's son. Always, every time I see that name, I think that is brilliant. $1.99 from Odin's son. No doubt here, brother. We support you. Well, I support you. Thank you for being here. We also have Liberating Stray over on YouTube, super chatting 10 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, it is late on the other side of the pond, and yet not stopping these good people from going free. 10 pounds. Thank you so much. Looks like your avatar is a happy white family along a white picket fence. Beautiful. Writing, it may feel silly, but I felt more free when I played on the game Skyrim. Playing in Nordic settlements overlooking fjords, mountain peaks, and valleys with wildlife close by made me feel at home, and it should. That is your biospirit. That is your white biospirit, the biospirit of Western kind. Harmonizing with those visuals, with that environment. That is where we are at home. That is what we have to nurture again. And when we talk about things like we might not be able to have cities like they are today when we recapture our destiny. Thank you for the super chat and those thoughts. Blatant Arrogance, again, $10. Blatant Arrogance X. Not usually able to catch. Oh, that's what that one I read. Thank you so much, Blatant Arrogance. Let's see. Tall Kevin over here on Entropy, $3. You mentioned a few times you were in the military. What branch? I myself am an enlisted operation, Freedom Veteran Army. Also, what is the best way to donate so a percentage isn't taken out? Well, the best way or the cheapest way is either going to be Cash App, which is 6%. You'll find it down in the description, or the familiar alternative, also at 6%, down in the description as well. Thank you so much. I don't give up the branch, at least I haven't yet, because it might narrow things down a little too much for the anti-whites, but perhaps I will in the future. But thank you I know that you want, a lot of folks in the white positive sphere have gotten down on this, thanking our white brothers and sisters in uniform for their service. Their service is not to, even though they might be confused and they think it's to the United States or they think it's to Sweden or wherever you live, they are acting in defense of our people. Unless they're vehemently anti-white and they're saying, went into the service so that I could crush the anti-white slurs out there, the heretics, unless they say something like that, when they say, I felt that I had to do this duty for my country, what they're saying is, I felt like I had to do this duty for my nation, which means people. So you should thank them, and I thank you and all of you for your service. Heidi, I love seeing you. $10. Thank you so much for that kind super chat over here on Entropy. You've written here, you've inspired me greatly. Please check your Twitter on Messenger for some memes I've created. Oh, beautiful, my kind lady. That is wonderful. Thank you. She writes, hope you like them. Go free, everyone. It's an amazing feeling to be proud of who you are. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, I see. All right, will be all of the super chats from, it looks like, Entropy. And I thought I saw something tick by. Edgar Allan Poe over here on the Familiar Alternative, $20. Hats off to you, another hero, participant in the cause. Thank you, sir. I was on the verge, writing here, I was on the verge of the ultimate act of white flight around a year ago. All right, we got it, ladies and gentlemen. The ultimate act of white flight, if you don't know what that is, and this was created not by me, but somebody first said it in a chat. Maybe somebody can remember who that was. I'd love to give credit to who said that first. The ultimate act of white flight is suicide. And Edgar Allan Poe is saying here, I was on the verge of the ultimate act of white flight around a year ago. I could see the single thread by which I hung. If that thread was anything other than a love for our people, I wouldn't be here today. We are saving lives here. My hat's off to you. A big salute to you, my dear brother. And thank you for sharing that. I know a lot of people find that a very embarrassing thing to say. Sir, you are the third person who has now shared that he was on the path to the ultimate act of white flight and is now off that path. I salute you. That warms my heart more than everything. I just thank you so much for being here and sharing that. It can be an embarrassing thing, and to admit that one has come to that. And don't feel embarrassed, folks. Don't feel embarrassed. If you had it tough, if you were like Edgar Allan Poe, and you were this close, and now you've come back, you share your testimony like Edgar Allan Poe has. That's somebody's life. That's somebody's son. That's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's brother or sister. Well done. Thank you. Heidi, over here on the Familiar Alternative, thank you so much. $10. Oh, I see. Okay, so over here, was this Raymond over here? No, it was Raymond earlier. I see. You're trying to outdo Raymond from earlier. Okay. Heidi writing $10. Just trying to outdo my husband. Ha! We think you're amazing. Keep it up. No, bless you both. You are able to be here. You are able to cut something out of your life so that you can give a little bit to White Wellbeing, so that we can keep the wheels moving here. And also, and ladies and gentlemen, you all know this. If you haven't heard me say before, all of your super chats to me are used immediately for White Wellbeing. All of them are used for White Wellbeing. None of them go to keeping the lights on. None of them go to paying rent. None of them go to getting me toothpaste. None of them go to car payments. Nothing. I would love to reach the day when I don't have to work my ass off, where I don't have to be on the phone while I'm driving, talking, setting up things for White Wellbeing, IRLs, doing 10 things at once, doing things while I'm brushing my teeth for White Wellbeing. I would love to be able to have a Mr. Pie come along and say, well, you know what? Here's $1 million to make this into an organizational entity that will be a force, that all of these groups that these people supposedly decry, they want to name them ADL and etc., that they decry the power of these organizations, and then they support shame when people give me, yours truly, a couple of dollars. They cut a trip to the Wendy's out one week, and they throw some extra dollars at me. So all those people who want to say the ADL is too powerful and all, but whatever you do, you know, that no white guilt is just about X, Y, or Z. Despicable. So thank you very much, Heidi. You too. You're able to do that, and you're able to live. You mean, and you're able to eat right, work out, take care of children. You're able to do all these things, feed your pets or whatever it is, your own life, and participate. We actually salute you for that, but I'm saying it with this lighthearted tone for these people who say that they weren't able to take care of themselves because of the white positive sphere. Wow. We just had, now, let me get over here really quick, and we're going to enter the second phase of this stream. We'll bring Jared on. He's got some smart things to say. We know how bright Mr. George is. We want to hear from him. We just had Vivian, the lovely Vivian, over on Cash App, super chatting $2. Thank you so much, my dear lady. I don't see normally I see, I wonder if it's a Cash App problem. I don't see your avatar, and that chagrins me. But thank you so much for that lovely super chat. Okay, we have a super chat from the future. Nathan super chatting $15 over on Ko-fi, writing, "What a sublime and immaculate surprise to see you streaming tonight, Jason, with Jared G." Yes, second phase, the second half will be coming right up. You guys are the biggest ticket on the white planet. Thank you, my friend Nathan. What a hero. What a pleasure it is to have you as company and a brother in this cause. Writing also, with fall in the air, the rise of the pristine white West is palpable. What a blessing you are. Thank you for being with us, Nathan. What an absolute blessing. I have to say a big love to all of you. And we'll say final super chat now, and then we'll move into that second phase of the show today. This will be the final super chat, and it is from Jason. Great name over here on the Familiar Alternative. $50. $50. Who would think any less of someone with a great name like Jason? I might even, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, who knows? I'll just read what you have here rather than get a little deeper into that. $50 from Jason. Thank you so much. My small repayment for the blessing that is white well-being. Before this righteousness became part of me, I was addicted. Oh my God. Round of applause for Jason, ladies and gentlemen. My small repayment, $50, for the blessing that is white well-being. Before this righteousness became part of me, I was addicted to opium. He also says, was weak-willed and a conservative. Now, in all caps, I work my intellect, my body, thanks to the Golden One, and strive to help my white brothers and sisters more soon. Jason, you have just, you all are just bringing absolute the light of the rising Western sunrise into all of our hearts. Thank you all very much. Thank you for sharing that testimony. Bless you all. I think we've made the biggest case that we can make to all of those who want to try to support shame me, who came out and slandered me, slandered all of you, who wanted to support shame all of you, and the great work that we're doing, the great work that Jared George is doing. Jared, if you could hop on in and let's give a round of applause to bring Jared George onto the stage when he rolls up his fine suits and fine attire that the gentleman has. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all, if you haven't seen yet, I want you to head on over to Mr. George's channel. I want you to sub if you haven't already. I want you to bookmark his website. Jared and I have some amazing things coming forward. Jared is doing the lion's share, and we should lionize this man right here for the great work that he is doing. Big round of applause and appreciation for Jared George, all the work that he's doing. He is a relative to somebody like a Mark Collette, still new to the cause relative to somebody like Mark Collette, but he has always felt this magic in his heart for our people. He has just, over the past few years, it has finally come to him to get involved. He's had some real sort of magical moments. He's talked about this. And so it's my infinite honor to be able to work with someone as wonderful as Jared. Mr. George, what do we have that you have seen? I know you saw some stuff with what is his name? The Stefan Molyneux's recent video, and he's making a plea for money, and Stephen making an assessment of that. You probably have some other things you'd like to mention since we got started tonight. Please, sir.
Well, hello, everyone. How are you? I don't want to shift gears too much too quickly. It's been quite a thing to see all of this unfold in real time and how the community responds. Now, I guess we'll take a step back for a minute. Part of the reason why Jason and I are here tonight together, obviously, Jason's been speaking for the last hour and 40 minutes, is, as Jason said, and perhaps you've heard if you've been listening to the shows over the last, what would you say, Jason, 5 weeks or so, we've probably been saying this now, that we're on the verge of doing something new and something big. And that is coming down the pike very soon. We're very excited about that. And it involves more of this, which we're excited about as well. The after party, of course, will continue as you know it. But you're going to see different kinds of programming, some different angles, including some times where Jason and I are just on talking to you guys, and it's a little bit about news and things that are going on, and we can all just kind of have a more relaxed conversation, Jason and I, between each other, and then all of us together, because as Jason has so eloquently said, we're all learning and growing and getting better together. So we were going to do that tonight because you'll have to stay tuned for announcements. And I think you may have heard me say this before, but I'll say it again if this is new to you. What we're about to do, it's not going to come out all formed 100% right away. We're going to grow into this publicly over the next few months. So some of it will be trial and error, and things will kind of organically take shape as they need to, which is one of the beautiful things, if you've ever heard the origin stories of TAP and how Jason and I work together anyway, is Jason and I amazingly never called each other up and said, hey, let's do a show every week, and this is what it's going to be like. And it just happened. It's one of the most amazing things that's happened in my life, and certainly to be part of this and to see the support, to see the lives saved is just unbelievably moving and fulfilling. It's an incredible thing to witness. I had tears in my eyes as well, seeing some of this, hearing some of these words from the people that are part of this. So to get back to a minute just to the meta thing of what Jason and I are doing. So we're probably going to be doing likely Tuesday nights for now. We're going to see if this works. Will kind of be the start of our week, and we'll announce if we have someone confirmed, which hopefully by that time we would, but sometimes things are last minute. We'd be announcing who's going to be on tap on Thursday, but also other programming. Hey, we might do this kind of interesting show on the Wednesday night of this week, tomorrow night, where we have a debate between two people. And Friday night, we're just going to have a fun casual stream, and we're going to talk about some news and goings on and take your questions. And we might do call-in shows and things like that as well. Jason, I don't know where you went. Maybe
I'm here, but I just made you solo.
Maybe you have to go. I have the whole thing now. So welcome to part of my abode. So we're going to be doing these, and we're going to test this out, even though we don't have our website rolled out yet, which, by the way, there's going to be a place for community videos as well. There's going to be a place for clips. HB4 2014, of course, is the Twitter Clipmeister, but we do invite more of you to be making clips from shows, because there'll be a page for clips. All of our shows are going to be archived, all the past shows, but a lot of fun stuff. I don't want to give too much away. But so we're trying this thing out. We're going to do the Tuesday night, but I wasn't around for what happened on Sunday, and I didn't want to speak to it. It wasn't really my place, I felt. So I said, Jason, why don't you really address this tonight? And he said, well, I could do this thing where I keep you StreamYard, the software. So I've been here the whole time. I've been listening the whole time. But it really was appropriate for Jason to say that. Now, again, I was doing some other things over the last couple of days, so I don't want to speak out of turn, and I'm not going to assume much one way or the other. I do want to say, and Jason, you've already touched on this already, but I just do want to inject this again, especially because a comment that was made under a video of mine today, which ultimately became a very positive exchange, underscores this same notion. And it's something we're going to keep coming up against. And it's that when someone is coming from this, as you said, Jason, this broad white positive sphere, that means so many different things to different people. They have different experiences of this. So when someone takes a cursory look and isn't familiar, and I hope not to sound self-serving here, but anyone here tonight, especially tonight, because really this has become a celebration of a lot of things, of some of the lives saved, of the amazingly generous support. It's not like we're not alt-light types getting thousands of dollars a month here. I don't know what anyone thinks. We're not supporting lifestyles like this. We're still doing other things. It's a few $100s a month. No one's getting rich off of this. We're doing this because we love it. It's a celebration. We know how much every dollar means to you. We see that the testimonies and how generous people were tonight. We see the lives saved, and we see Jason's character. I'm sitting here so honored to call this man a friend and a colleague. Look at the class. Look at the character of how he's handled this, demonstrating simultaneously strength where he needs to be strong, wisdom where he needs to be wise, openness where he needs to be open. It's an amazing thing. So we're in celebration mode. So maybe it is okay to kind of talk about what we're doing, and maybe it, as a prologue to about to be launching this new venture and this new website, it might be appropriate as well. But again, I don't want to be too self-indulgent. I'll just say this as a reality check, and we're not the only ones. Jason and I are not the only ones doing positive things. We're not saying that. But for a lot of people, especially some of the guys who might have been mixed up in this, that Jason was referring to earlier, some of the people who came out against him over the last couple of days, when they see a guy live streaming, when they see a guy collecting super chats, when they see a guy on Twitter, we have to all remember that their association of this thing goes back to 2015, 2016, and all of the kind of shit posting meme culture. Do they have any idea that people who are alcoholics, that people who are on opium, that people who were on the brink of suicide had the scales fall from their eyes, have new verbiage, new language to put into form these emotions that were swirling in them and were eating away, and they knew something was off, and they didn't know the compass was off, and they didn't know how to get back to their true north, or they didn't have the words to express the feelings they were feeling, or something they knew was off, but they couldn't quite say it. No, the guys who associate with the meme culture and the shit posting, that's it. They're just going to take a cursory look at this, and they're just going to think we're one more of those guys, another set of those jerks. Now, not to put too fine a point on it, but we've said this before, I've said this before, there's absolutely a place for pushing back against political correctness. There's absolutely a place for the jester role. I've started doing some skits. Now, I like to think that my skits are a little more sophisticated, and I'm not going for low-hanging fruit. You know, I'm not sitting here making fun of stereotypes of other non-white groups or something like that. I'm attacking the hypocrisy of the regime, and I'm showing them for what it is. And it takes a little more nuance to do that, I think, if I may say. But even the more base meme stuff, there's a place for that, and that shocks people awake. I understand that. We've never come out and said 100% that shouldn't be there. I understand that energy, especially that boyish, youthful energy a lot of young men have. Here's the problem, though. For too long, there haven't been enough positive male role models. And these guys are like ships without rudders. They have nowhere to funnel all of that frantic energy. So it's one thing if you're a young guy and initially some of these memes shock you into awareness of the world isn't what you think it is, and it awakens you to certain truths. But then what? Then what? A lot of these guys got burnt, as Jason said, and I think that he showed a fair amount of compassion, and I would certainly extend a hand of compassion as well. And if there are people here that are new tonight or new watching this in replay, I do hope you take this seriously, because the comment that I mentioned before that had me thinking about this, the comment that I got was the person wasn't quite aware of what Jason and I did. And then when we engaged a little bit more, the person was able to see that there's a direction to what we're doing. There's also a community aspect where people are you're all out there, you're volunteering your own work, you're creating your own songs, you're creating your own videos. It's not just us up here saying, oh, listen to how clever we are. Here's our review of this. Now give us money. Very different. And the person is able to see, yeah, you guys are doing something different. The problem is that 90% of the stuff out there is, in this person's words, manure. And I don't have time to sift through it. And I didn't know that you guys were like this. And this is a phenomenon that's going on. Now, maybe I'm wearing my idealist hat a little more than my strategist hat. But I like to think that if we just keep plugging along and doing what we're doing, somehow, some way, it's going to ripple out more, and we will be known, as Jason said, by our fruits, and that we will reach more people. Because there are a lot of people, and maybe we should do this more. Jason mentioned the Steve Franson video, which I'm going to touch on tonight, but I think maybe we should return to one of these other nights. It does touch on things we're talking about, because Stefan Molyneux, according to him, but there's a few funny aspects to this, because he sounds like he's got plenty stored away. But according to him, Stefan Molyneux's in free fall, he's in crisis mode, and there's a few lessons to maybe extrapolate from that. And I think Steve Franson did a fine job of analyzing some of it. He's a few videos. I watched the first Franson video. I'd love to talk to Steve. He knows he's welcome on if he'd like to come on. He tried to come on, it's late night somewhere once in February with the More Radio program when we first started that. And for an odd reason, there was a tech glitch that night. I was DMing Steve, or emailing Steve actually on the side, and it never happened. But I really got to see how Steve's mind works. I was very impressed. I haven't watched Stefan Molyneux in a long time, so it wouldn't seem relevant. But he did a fine job of doing this exposition and really seemed to care. I think he's coming from the right place. But you see how, people like Molyneux, and I understand this to some degree, you have to be smart about it, and he makes a living this way. They're looking at their growth and how many subs did I gain or lose this week, or Twitter followers. And for what it's worth, I guess you'll just have to take me at my word. Have Jason and I never talked about that? No, that would be a lie. Well, there'll be a cursory glance at, after you were on something big like Millennial or Red Ice, did you get a little bump? But week in and week out, is this the focus of our conversation? Are Jason and I talking about numbers and how much we made in super chats and how many Twitter followers we have? We only have a few thousand, handful. We're still growing. We're still in our infancy. No, we're not obsessed with this. Maybe we should be more. Maybe we should be thinking about it more strategically, more like a business. I don't know. But we don't book guests on the after party because we're like, we're gonna make more money with this person. We book it because, Laura Lee Scaife, she's really smart. She's fascinating. She has something to say that our audience will benefit from. She can tell you about kingship and the masculine.
Yep.
And even though she's a woman, she's not one of these ridiculous women that are going to tell men how to be men. She still had the wisdom. When we asked her what chivalry is, she looked at us and said, no, I want you to answer that. You're the men. One of the wisest answers she could have given, the wisest answer she could have given her. My respect for her was already here, and it just went up.
Yep.
We're going to bring you John Q. Publius because he has amazing writing. Mm-hmm. All kinds of things. We look for people, whether they're big. Yeah, we had people who are much bigger on than us, like the Golden One and Ramsey Paul. But we're looking at people right now who have 100 subs, and we want to bring on the new shows we're doing because it's what is going to help us learn more and you learn more in the process and wake us up more. That's what we're doing here now. This whole thing is maybe, to us, we do it every week. So Jason, right, to us, it's close. But to the guys who were friends of Matt, they came from a different culture. They came from the meme culture of 2015, 2016. Matt was in Charlottesville. I can understand that he feels he got burned. I can understand that he feels he had the confusion in his life. So we reach out to him with compassion. I looked at his, again, I don't know the situation. I don't want to comment much on it. I looked at his Twitter. I see he lives in it looks like out west, some landscapes I'm familiar with, beautiful part of the country. God bless.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's living a beautiful life. No one is disparaging going out and living a rural, traditional, wholesome existence. We support that 100%. But that's not mutually exclusive with connecting with other people as well this way. And Jason already said it beautifully tonight. I don't need to repeat it. But that's the key difference. When you say white positive sphere, someone who's already tuning in to these shows, you guys know. But we have to remember, even in our own circle, which is a little subset of the general population, right? We talk about normies, we talk about the mainstream. Even within our spheres of people who generally think like us, even in that pie, there's a whole big chunk that what we talk about here, and not only what we talk about, but how we talk about it, how we conduct ourselves, the language we use, the language we don't use, the way we hold ourselves and comport ourselves, that's foreign to a lot of people still in these spheres. Again, not saying Jason and I are the only ones. We have wonderful friends. Look at the list. Go to the playlist of people who've been on the after party. Those are our peers. We invite people we respect. Now, we have different people on almost every week. So there are plenty of talented, noble, high character people out there doing amazing work. And we're very proud to be part of that. But we still have to grow this and get this out there, because to a lot of these guys, especially these young guys, they think it's all just shit posting. They have no idea there's so many more people to reach. And hopefully something like this will underscore that. I think perhaps in the little I know of this situation that unfolded over the last couple of days since Sunday night, over the last 48 hours, I think maybe there was just some, as these things happen, some misunderstanding, some crosstalk, talking over one another. It does seem like the vast majority, I can't speak for his followers, but at least of what Matt wants and from what Jason said, and they spoke a little in private, wants is the same thing we want. The same values that we have. He had a very different experience. He has a very different point of reference. So we need to keep spreading this. But the support that I've seen tonight and just watching this unfold in real time was absolutely amazing. Again, talking about Franson's video with Molyneux, maybe I'll watch more the other parts. And so maybe we'll get into stuff like that. Again, we're going to be doing a lot more live streaming around these parts very soon. Maybe even a few more this week, aside from the tap on Thursday, who knows? So we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, because it does dovetail with some of this. It is tangential with some of what we're talking about tonight with Molyneux. And, he's blaming it on tech censorship and some of the state of society in general, like how he can't go to a college and give a talk and have that be a viable source of income. But Steve, in a very fair way, not accusing Stefan of anything, but just asking questions, just throwing out possibilities, is looking at the fact that, I'll give you a quick example. Stefan had a guy named Elliot Hulse on, who's into working out and manhood and all this. But apparently this Elliot Hulse admitted that, in his own words, he sat out the culture war. He didn't say anything about Trump in 2016. He didn't say anything about his political views. He said he just didn't participate in it. And a lot of Molyneux's fans and people who comment said, you need to get this guy, the golden one, on. You should, if you want to talk about masculinity, how are you going to talk to a guy that's not sticking his neck out in this critical moment we're living through in Western civilization, in this culture war? Here's a guy, isn't it a little more manly to not only work out and know how to fight and all these other things and mindset, but beyond that, live it by someone like the golden one is putting his name and his face out there. He's being courageous.
Right.
He's letting you know in no uncertain terms this is what he stands for. So why don't you have someone like him on? We think he might be a good example for young men. And apparently he got a lot of feedback about this. And this is Franson relating this about Molyneux. And Molyneux just ignores things like this. So we're becoming the centripetal force here. The fact that Molyneux is ignoring some of these elephants in the room that people like us talk about every week, that's becoming more and more apparent. And we should take heart in that. because I think it's becoming more obvious to people that the alt-light thing isn't tenable. Because as more people get red-pilled, even by life, even if they're not listening to guys like us and Mark and whoever else yet, they're getting red-pilled by life, and they're seeing there's something missing. There's not enough adding up. Molyneux might be great and brilliant in certain ways, and he's worked long and hard at what he does, but why is it not working anymore? A lot of people, by the way, just to put a wrap on this, I was very happy to see, and Molyneux did a follow-up to his own video. A lot of the people, top comments, guess what they're saying? Talk to Steve Franson. Steve Franson has some ideas, and he's genuinely concerned. Steve Franson was very influenced by Molyneux, gave Molyneux a lot of his funds. He supported him financially. Right there in the top comments with Molyneux, talk to Franson, talk to Franson. So we'll see if it happens, but it's an interesting thing. There's more to parse there. Like I said, it does dovetail with some of the things you talked about, Jason, tonight, with the different perceptions out there. But it might be you've already gone on enough, and it might be better to do a little more prepared and do it another night.
Well said.
Do you have any questions, or anyone has anything to say, or what you're seeing in the chat? Because now we're just kind of in freeform mode.
Right. We have the great Roy Danton had written over here on gardening with NWG. Excuse me. He says, if you all are doing Tuesday nights, please do it past 9 p.m. There's another weekly show at 8 that I listen to each week. We've had a few people now say, if you're gonna stream on Tuesdays, please do it at 9. No earlier than 9. There must be a wonderful list of fantastic, live streamers.
There's a lot of people we love, guys. We're not always going to be able to not stream when someone else is streaming. This is a thing that comes up, and it's not possible. But the Tuesday at 9 thing that could very well work. But we can't always be granting everyone's requests, or we'd all be calling each other. It would just be a logistic nightmare. But we'll try to be aware when certain people are on. But Tuesday night might work. The one bad thing about that is we're really trying to cultivate, again, to go with what Jason was saying about this worldwide thing, something we were very attuned to from the beginning. Nothing, again, we talked about, Jason and I both had a natural instinct for this, is we love our friends over in Europe. We love our friends all around the world. But at least the time-wise, when we do it in the afternoon here, our friends in Europe can watch. I know a few of you are staying up late, but we will lose a lot of people, UK and Europe. So you'll have to tell them, once you get the word on Tuesday night, this is what's going on in the TAP universe this week. You'll have to spread the word on social media once Jason and I make the announcements about the upcoming programming for that week. But we'll figure it out. Like I said, we're kind of rolling with it, and we're going to be developing it and putting the edges around it as we actually do it over the next few weeks and few months.
Indeed. And it could be earlier, and so it wouldn't conflict with whoever these other streamers are. So thank you, Roy. If you don't know Roy Danton, that is a hero a hero among heroes in our community. So big thank you to Roy. And let's see, we have a super chat over here on Ko-fi. Billahora. The great Billahora. I love saying that name. $3 over on Ko-fi. Thank you, good sir. You're hitting on the vital white unity, love, all caps, and loyalty, all caps, which we must have. And then there's a personal message. Oh, I will. Yes, I have to. I will take care of that, friend. I will write a note to myself here in just a moment. And we also had Machiavelli, I think it was. Yes, Machiavelli sucks. $1.99. Thank you very much for the super chat, brother. Writing Ask Zed Dez about monetary policy. Well,
monetary policy? Where?
I mean, we will perhaps if she has a knowledge.
Showing too much chest hair, ladies. It's getting a little spicy. It is after 11 on the East Coast. Maybe It's all right, a little late night. Yeah, my shirt's open. I have kind of this Henley shirt on. It was opening up.
All right. Okay. So that, and we did have, I'll find it. I know there was another comment or question, but we have, I did want to mention too, we have so many people are still with us. We're going, folks. I mean, we have a Way of the World mug. Pardon the use, obvious signs of use. If you don't know who Way of the World is, look him up. Fantastic content creator for White Wellbeing, big member of the community for White Wellbeing. Happy to be able to work with him and honored in this cause. But we had a lot of, I guess, questions and requests about this whole Joker business. Jared and I don't think either of us have seen the movie.
You know what I think, Jason? I think that because you and and it's not like I don't like films, you know, I have a creative background, and I certainly can enjoy a film, although I've stopped going to movie theaters like the typical Hollywood films for a while now. But we famously always pass the buck, especially to friends like, say, Jefferson Lee and Josh Neal, who are known for some of their content. Like when they're together, they're Broken Arrow when they do a show together, and they often do movie reviews. They've also done great streams that just focus on a band, and they really research it, very thorough. They go through each album. I think it would be funny because you and I aren't pop culture guys, right? We're not movie critic guys. I think it would be really interesting if we did maybe one stream where we challenged ourselves and we went and saw a movie and did the Jared and Jason review to try our hand at it. Now, it's funny. I haven't seen the Joker. I've seen commentary in our spheres on it, and I know there's some people that say that it's this brilliant capturing of the mood of the moment, and it's not totally Hollywood pause. There's messages for us in it too, and it's a little ambiguous at times. And I'm seeing other people that are saying, look, all this talk about it being brilliant that's way overblown. It's actually not that good of a movie. The depth of the character is not as sophisticated and nuanced as other versions of the Joker. He's really just a sick guy. There's not much more to it. That was basically the countercurrents argument written by Trevor Lynch, but everyone knows at this point Trevor Lynch is a pen name for Greg Johnson when he does movie reviews. So Greg Johnson has made his thoughts known on it, and I've seen some other people say that as well. But I'm just giving you an overview of what I've seen. So it's definitely engendering different kinds of reactions in our sphere. And I guess the two main ones that I've seen are that it's brilliant, and it's like a new form of filmmaking, and for Hollywood it is like a very well done piece of art. And I'm seeing this other camp that's saying, don't believe the hype. There's really not much to it. It's spectacle, but go see an art house film or some foreign film if you actually want filmmaking with storytelling and character development. So I can't say myself, I haven't seen it, but those are the two general camps. It's kind of divisive right now within our spheres of people who look at this kind of thing.
Well said. I mean, I have there are a couple of great pieces. Let me speak to Tall Kevin saying, since I'm not hungover in the morning anymore, I started drinking coffee again. Jason, any recommendations? I will absolutely get a recommendation. I cycle through. I don't have one coffee. It's usually medium roast is what I have. I stick with, and it depends, on your system. I usually stick with 2 cups a day of medium roast, and so I guess recently has been Caribbean, but I'll get everyone the name of what I'm drinking right now so that the anti-whites can poison it. But and then when I change it, maybe we'll get everybody's recommendations on what's a good coffee we can get each other. And why isn't there a white person out there putting together coffee beans for us that we can all purchase from that person, and we can keep the money inside our community? I would love to do that. Let's see. I had another.
See, this is where there's a tap divide. As I'm a tea person.
Ah, right. Well, I have tea as well. I've cycled away from tea for actually quite a few months now. My pleasure is English breakfast tea, but
Oh
it
yeah.
it's a little bit stronger on the teeth than coffee. Believe it or not, everybody keeps saying no, no tea, but no, I have my teeth cleaned regularly, and it's worse than coffee. Dan says it's taken a couple months of using the lexicon. He's talking, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to this, about the lexicon of going free, which we teach here in these episodes of Going Free. We use regularly on tap elsewhere, and of course is in the book Go Free, the second edition coming out this week. If I've got to not sleep, not pull away from this computer after losing all that material, I am not going anywhere. It will get done. And guess what? I'm still able to feed myself and have a job and keep the lights on. So not hard, ladies and gentlemen. You just have to be committed. But Dan says,
Fornell's on it. He said he's a Pete's Coffee fan. So he's an old fan, if he knows that inside.
"Oh, Pete's okay." Fantastic. It is. If he knows of Pete's Coffee, we might have to tip them off where to look at the video. But he also, before I forget, Dan says, been taking a couple months of using the lexicon, but my friends have evolved from a confused puppy dog look to a nodding of understanding. Great stuff. A big salute to you, Dan. What a hero, getting out there, using the dialectics and the lexicon with his friends. And now they are beginning to go free as a result. And the anti-whites won't be able to control their minds anymore. They will now have the struggle, that tug of war that goes on inside of each and every one of us because of the mean pathogens. They will finally be pulling back in the direction of health and happiness. And let me tell you, you'll be able to go out there and be a man and be a good father, be a good husband by going free. You'll be able to be a good wife and a good mother by going free. If you're not doing these things, you're not doing enough for yourself and your immediate family and the rest of our broader family, the Western civilization.
El Ronder one said, and I do remember seeing this now, that the Golden One promotes some kind of coffee brand. I don't know if you can only get it in Europe though. But yeah, he has talked about some certain kind of coffee he likes, and he tries to support European products. So that might be a good thing to look into. We need a registry.
Right. Yeah. It's something. Yeah. Obviously, I'm sure in the States, I've managed restaurants, food distribution, and I don't know exactly what it would be like to be packaging coffee beans, and they might have the same restrictions. So you're going to have your wits about you and be ready for every sort of hoop that the system will make you jump through to be able to sell such a thing. But if you're dedicated and you want to get in there and you want to hit that niche and make some coffee for us, we'll make sure to buy coffee from you.
Yeah, kind of like we have Mighty White Soap Company, that White People's Quarterly. They advertise in White People's Quarterly. We're seeing more people who think like us, who are part of this, making their own crafts. Also, on that note, send a message to Jason or I if you know of a print on demand, so not a t-shirt company where we have to have boxes and boxes of t-shirts in our houses, but a print on demand t-shirt company that's based in the US and that the actual cotton and the shirts themselves are made in the US, because we're having a hard time with that kind of thing for merchandise, fun stuff on t-shirts or mugs and things like that. There are plenty of print on demand companies. We're aware of the main ones, of course. Zazzle's been around for a long time. I've used them in the past for certain things. Vistaprint, we know. But if there's print on demand that's specifically all based in the US, please do message either Jason or I, because we are looking for options with merch as well.
Okay, we have Europe super chat at $9.99, and I see some talk about there are some different news things. There is an article here I can read a little bit for you all for the Joker. It is quite a shock, and maybe I will go, and perhaps Jared will as well, and see the Joker. We'll have something to say for you all about it. But Europe super chatting $9.99. Any advice on red pilling my sister? She's 16, partying boy crazy, and doing God knows what, while my anti-white parents see nothing wrong. Breaks my heart to see her going down the wrong path. Well, Europe, how old are you, I wonder, relative to your sister? That could play a role in the advice I give you. So when we have the call-in show for Going Free, we'll be able to dig a little deeper in exactly the context. But one of the important things, regrettably, if your parents are anti-white, you're in an interesting position where you can use their anti-whiteism to your advantage. But ultimately, you want to try to convince her. First of all, do you have Go Free? If you don't, wait until the second edition is available very shortly. And if you want, get it electronically. You can share this with her potentially, or at least initially, use the lexicon. You want to get to her with the verbiage of the beauty of our people, how precious that biospirit is inside of her, and therefore how valuable she is as a person. She is going out to parties, and she is boy crazy and all of this. And it's not that parties are bad, but I get the vibe from your super chat that this is kind of like an over the top. She's just not going to when I think party, I can think of a variety of get-togethers where one type is quite benign and another is severely injurious, pernicious to a person. So I'm imagining that is what she's engaging in, and not the tea parties at one end of the spectrum. And it's because she doesn't see any value in herself. And she doesn't see any value in herself because she doesn't see any value in our people. If you believe that you are from, and this will be the case with her, if you believe that you are from a wretched people, you will have no value for yourself. When people say that they value themselves or they love themselves, if they're white and they are not going free, you're looking at somebody who's coping with what they feel deep down about themselves. When you probe, as I have probed, I find out and uncover for them that indeed they think that our people are wretched largely, and they are part of that people. And then I ask, do you think you've escaped somehow unscathed, or do you think you carry that sin? Oh no, then they end up admitting, yes, it's with me. And so your sister's ultimately white flighting from this to the boys, to the partying and that sort of business. And so you have to get to her with the value of our people, the value of what she carries inside her, the ease with which she can end up corrupting that which is important. She needs to hear the message from you with love, and that these are the most valuable years of her life when it comes to finding a top quality mate that will be a great husband and a great father, a great provider, father to her children, etc. She needs to be using these years and the coming years to find those great men, rather than wasting them on chasing the prettiest boys, the prettiest 10 to 15% boys in her circles that she can get at, which is, unfortunately, it sounds like what she's doing. But if you send me a message and you can get me some more information, we can continue the conversation. I really want to help you. I had a brother of a young girl maybe about 6 months ago, and she was doing the exact same thing. And we talked about their unique situation and really brought her around a great way around from the direction that she was headed. And indeed, we found out as we zoomed in on what was really the cause of this. Why was she behaving this way? There was a lot of anti-whiteism there, a lot of hurt, a lot of infection. And once she realized it was there, that's the most important thing. Europe, once she realized it was there, she couldn't stop seeing it. And she began to associate all of that behavior, the drinking, that was her thing, going out and drinking, even though she was underage. She began to see all of that as associated with the MPs that she was taking in by way of news and entertainment media, etc. So teaching them how to see makes it impossible for them to close their eyes. It's like a lidless vision. Everywhere they go, they end up seeing the anti-whiteism, and they see what they're encouraging them to do. So
Jason,
I hope that can be helpful. Yes, sir.
Jason, is there an aspect to that you talk about, and I'm sure, again, this will come up with specific situations in future shows, but in general, you were talking about making sure she has the self-esteem and understand where she comes from and the value in that, but the flip side of scaring someone too and using that negative motivation. Do you employ that, or do you have anything to say about that sometimes? Because when I think of that, all that youthful energy in a 16-year-old and all of the pressure from peers, because you might get her nodding along and seeming like she's at least half agreeing if you corner her at home as her brother and you have a one-on-one conversation. But then when she gets back into that environment around her peers, the other girls at school, and all the social signals and everything that she's already enmeshed in, it's going to go right back into this loop that she's already hooked herself into. So what about the negative reinforcement of scaring her with some grave instances and where things can go? Because most 16-year-olds are not thinking about the future. 20 sounds like it's eons away.
Right.
4 short years that jump between 16 and 20 seems unfathomable. So they're not thinking about, this is going to screw up my chances of this and set me on the wrong course for that. They're like goldfish living in the moment.
Right. And there is a place for being honest with them about the ramifications of decisions they're making now. It really depends on the relationship between this particular brother and his sister. If he is believable to her, and he's not seen as a parent trying to ward off the fun that she gets, so trying to prevent her from reaching the fun. If he can has stories that he can tap into. This is something that we should all do, by the way. If you have a specific case with a loved one and they want to do X, or they're indulging X, whatever that might be on a regular basis, it's very easy now to go online, come into our community, find cases of people doing X with horrible outcomes. The 2 young girls from, we can't even really say, because I know there have been videos that have been censored for even bringing this up. But so I won't say any specific countries or where they were from or where they went, what kind of people they encountered. But there were white girls,
blonde people.
Yes, they were white young girls. They ended up going to, and I guess I'll share some of the instances that I've shared or ways that I've approached, or maybe just one, because I know I want to speak to the question, and Jared, your great point. You can use this tactic of scaring them straight. For example, I have said, I used to call this, I won't say what I used to call it, but I would hear this from women, from at least white women. There's one woman I was speaking with about this. They would say, well, this area or this country is so safe. Every time I go into this area of the city, everybody's so nice. Everybody wants to help. I go to this country, everybody's so nice. They're running up. They want to help. And I would say, of course, you're an attractive white woman. You have money, and they're going to be deferential. They want the money, and they want and depending upon how well you know this woman, depends on how real you can be with her, I guess. And I would say to them, it's going to remain safe to you until you get raped. Then you won't think it's safe anymore, because you have such a narrow focus. You think it's not going to happen to you. You're not looking at the data. You're not looking at the statistics. You're not looking about what's happening in that area. And you can juxtapose this to and this is a great learning opportunity for young women. You can juxtapose it to the fact that, hey, didn't you tell me, just draw these things. You've had many conversations with your sisters or anybody else out there this might mean something for them. Didn't you tell me about the time that you saw the clean-cut white guy that tried to say hello to you at the beach or at the coffee shop, and you were terrified of this guy because you thought, well, what if he is an axe murderer? Well, you got this notion that he is potentially an axe murderer from all of these Lifetime television movies and et cetera, where the nice white guy who is clean cut and et cetera is really this monster. And the non-white, anti-white, who gives off all the signals of danger, really has a heart of gold. And so aren't you just living your life according to the standards of these fantasies, where you think that the clean-cut white guy is the monster, and you think that the dangerous part of the city or that foreign country is actually quite safe, because you're living in according to the precepts and the notions you've learned in television, which is fake, rather than reality.
Let them feel like they're being a fool, like they're being duped. No one wants to feel like they're being duped.
Precisely. And I cannot tell you the number of times that I have had this conversation with women. I guess every time. I've never had one say, no, it's fine. It's when I say it's going to be safe for you until you're raped. When I say that, the look on their faces is always, oh my God, that's true. It is. I'm only going to think it's safe until I'm raped, until I'm mugged, until I'm beaten. She knows down deep that those horrible things happen. So yes, it really depends. And as I think about all of the responses you could possibly have, I'm flitting between all of these different types of personalities that I've seen in young women, both growing up and as an adult. So there's a wide variety of things you can say, but you can absolutely use the scare straight. You can, if they're going out and drinking and driving or something like this, show them photographs if you have to of this is what happens when you drink and drive. And if it has to be something horrible in the photograph of someone now dead and their life is over, then do it. And tell them that you are telling them this because you love them. And if you haven't, if you don't, if it's embarrassing, I know in a lot of families, it's hard to say, I love you to your family members. Hard to say for a brother maybe to say to a sister, I love you, or a sister to say to a brother. A little easier for the sister and most to say, I love you. Say you love them. That's why you're trying to help them. That's why you're giving them this information. I don't want something bad to happen to you. I want you to be this. I want you to be safe. I don't want you to end up in one of these precarious situations where you end up gang raped, like the girl in the story I just showed you, because she was out boy chasing, ended up going with some friends into a dangerous part of town, and then ended up gang raped. You can find these stories of this happening to our young women and share that with her. That will be an eye opener.
There's a story a friend told me. This isn't directly related. It's a metaphor, though, of when you go work or do things in the subways in the city, right? They make you see footage of people who stepped on the third rail and what it looks like to have 90% of your body burned. Mm. So you know what the consequences are. There's also, I'll have to find the right animal, but there's some good metaphors from nature about these girls that are like, these people are so nice. They're so nice. Like Jason, of course they're going to be nice to you. They're not going to show their true side, their true nature right away.
Right.
There are plenty of examples from nature where there's an animal. I think there's an octopus that does this, where it changes its appearance, whether it's around a predator or prey, to make it look like it's friendly. It changes its color. It changes its size. It does something, I think, where it's near potential prey, where it looks all friendly and it looks like something that the prey would be familiar with. And when the prey is close, it changes form. And guess what? Its beak opens and it swallows this thing. There's plenty of instances from nature we could use these metaphors. Maybe we'll find a particularly good one to get through. Someone in the chat, I think the user's loudspeaker, said this is just a 16-year-old girl being a 16-year-old girl. What? Maybe we should talk about that for a second. The last thing I'm into is projection. I'm seeing this more and more. I don't like people projecting and taking their experience and universalizing it. So I'm not only thinking of myself, but I'm thinking of friends that I grew up with. Some of them were not as fortunate as I was in that I had my parents were together, but I had a couple friends who, for various reasons, were raised by one parent. And you know what? The people that I was closest with when I was 16, we weren't going out and doing self-destructive things. I'm pretty sure you weren't, Jason. Is that right? No. So I want to push back on that a little bit. Does it mean when you're that age, you have a lot of rambunctious energy? I don't know. In some ways, I have more energy now. It's kind of weird, but maybe it's because I'm doing all this. Maybe because when you're on the path of your destiny, baby. But I don't really buy that. Yeah, 16-year-olds don't have more energy than wisdom, sure. But if you have the right parenting around and you have the right peer group around, so that energy is funneled into things that they're learning, that have meaning to them, they're building skills, whether it's in school or outside of school with hobbies and anything that they could be doing to build up themselves. I'm not saying to be one of these people where you're hyper obsessed with accomplishment and you have these, they call them helicopter parents in the United States, where they're rushing their kids around from this lesson to that lesson because it has to look good for the application to Harvard. I'm not necessarily a proponent of that hyper kind of suburban American lifestyle. Well, I shouldn't say suburban, because in urban centers there's, at least among the middle and upper classes in the urban centers, there's that fierce competition as well about they're trying to get their kids into the best preschool because that preschool somehow eventually leads to the Ivy League. I mean, there are people that go nuts about this stuff. So I want to be clear. I'm not saying that you have to be this nutcase where every single hour of your child's day is penciled in. There needs to be some free time. But this whole notion of it's just a 16-year-old girl being a 16-year-old girl, I don't know about that. I think we need to look at that a little more. Is there always going to be youthful, rebellious energy? Yeah, of course. Were past eras where all these vestigial virgins there until they were married, every last one of them in the 1920s and the 1930s? No, we know that. But I don't know. I think back in those decades, it was a little more common that even at that age, there was more responsibility placed in their hands. There were more rites of passage. So I think we need to do a little bit better about that. And I think we need to look at the parents, my parents, the parents of my friends, again, whether they were together or not. They made sure they knew who we were hanging around with. My parents knew who my friends were. We went to each other's houses. They checked them out. They weeded out bad influences. And we were all kids who, again, we weren't rushing around doing 10 million different things, but we had enough structure. We had enough discipline and guidance. We had love. We had self-worth. So I wasn't close with anyone that was going and getting themselves, crazy drunk and smoking pot at 16. It's funny today, drinking and smoking pot sound innocuous. If you're only drinking and smoking pot, hey, well, at least you're not doing pills. At least you're not doing opiates. And there are parents that think this is okay. No, that's crazy. A 16-year-old's body is still growing. Smoking pot, regularly drinking to get very drunk at 16 years old, that's not normal. No one here listening to the show should consider that normal by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't normal for me. It wasn't normal for my friends. I had a ton of fun. I was creative. I laughed my ass off all through my teenage years. I had a great, crazy, funny, smart group of friends. All we did was make each other laugh. I have great memories. I didn't have this terrible existential identity crisis. It's because of the families we came from and because they gave us the right structure and the right self-esteem. So Jason, I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but I think we need to challenge this idea more that it's just a 16-year-old being a 16-year-old.
Well, yeah, obviously that would be just to allow anything. But I think perhaps whoever wrote that was speaking to the energy and
sure. I acknowledge that.
Yeah, channeling that energy is what's important. Let me get to some of these super chats. We have 200 Mexican pesos coming from Tijuana.
That's a new currency.
Tijuana. Thank you very much for that kind super chat from south of the border. When is the call-in show? I went through something like that with my brother. I think I may be able to help. Well, it's coming soon. We are going to be working into the call-in show and having these conversations. There's so many conversations that I have and have helped people with the dialect and lexicon and dialectics of going free, and how beneficial would it have been to have had everybody listening rather than just helping the one person through. We would like to hear from you as well, Tijuana, on that. So thank you for the super chat, and I hope it worked out well with your brother. We also have Nathan, $5 on YouTube. Thank you, my dear brother. Groups are much easier to brainwash than individuals, yet many people use the majority as a measure of what is right. A paradox? ? Thank you very much for that, brother. Indeed, it's the whole the desire, the need to be accepted by the group. We are the descendants of many people that were accepted. Those who were not accepted didn't end up reproducing. So
it's biological, yeah. And Loudspeaker clarified, it is, you read a chat comment and context is lost, and there's only so much I could read while I'm doing this and speaking. But she said, or I don't know, am I assuming it's a she? Is it a mom? Maybe it's a he. I don't know. But loudspeaker said they were more referring to, this is the idea of the day, that a 16-year-old is being a 16-year-old, not necessarily excusing the behavior of wanton drunkenness and partying without thinking.
Yes, ruin yourself, white young boy, white young woman. Just ruin yourself. That's the way. And wouldn't you want, exactly, if you were a monster and you had a victim people, as the anti-whites have a victim people, wouldn't that be what you would want to teach their children, to destroy themselves? Europe, $1.99 super chat on Europe. Thank you very much. Writing, thank you both for the lengthy reply. Well, you are most welcome. Let me jump over to the familiar alternative. We're going to be wrapping up shortly. We're approaching midnight here on the East Coast of the United States. We have over on the familiar alternative. Let me see here. It is refreshing because we have Heidi over here, super chatting $10. Thank you so much again, Heidi, dear lady. On a serious note, as a descendant of German heritage, I have felt the guilt, especially through school teaching. But now I have learned I can be proud. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much, Heidi. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing those words with the entire community. You are a blessing. We also have over here the great Roy Danton. I told you all he was great. A working man going without to be able to contribute to the efforts we make here for White Wellbeing. $69.99, because $70 would have been crazy. Roy, thank you so much. Writing, I'm also by far from a rich man, but I've never felt more rewarded and welcome than here. Something I've never experienced before. Listen to those words, ladies and gentlemen. Roy is a wise man saying, never felt more rewarded and welcome than here. Something I've never experienced before. There's also a social event in my area this Friday that I really wanted to attend, but you'll make much better use of those $69.99. Thank you, Roy. Thank you for being one of us. Thank you for being a working class man who is a participant in this rapidly growing community, and will, like us, to go without here and there so that we can contribute just a little bit. And remember, all of you, especially all of you that have gone without, Roy is going to be, there's a social event he wanted to go to. How many of the average white folks in your neighborhood are going to go without their social events? Very few. This is a shining light when our folks do something like this, a shining light. And when someone wants to support shame us because someone like Roy is going to go without, Roy should be pissed off. Everyone who gives $1 or who thinks about or has ever given anything, and they should be pissed off when these liars and cheats are going to come in and try to support shame so that we remain impecunious, so that we remain in rags relative to these concrete and steel edifices that the anti-whites are able to build for their communities, because their people are never support shaming. Their people are always just giving. Please do more for our community. Empower us more. Empower us more. You know these people. You know them well by their fruits on Twitter and these other Gab and these other platforms. When they begin to support shaming, the road blocking us from reaching our destiny, you know exactly who and what they are. It doesn't matter whether they're there out of malice or ignorance. The outcome is the same. They're undermining the good work that we're doing. They're undermining, Roy, your sacrifice. Jason, your sacrifice. Heidi, your sacrifice. Edgar Allan Poe, your sacrifice. All of you, Europa, Tijuana, Lawrence, Machiavellius, Dan, Tall Kevin, White Rider, Liberating Stray. They're undermining Odin's son, Brandon Arrogance, all of you and more. They are undermining the sacrifices that you are making to make something happen for our people. They're attacking all of you, and all of you out there who are not in a position to be able to help with your time, with your talents, with your energy, with your finances. For all of you who are not in a position to be able to do that and are desperately grateful to those who are, they are attacking you as well, because it is your future, your children, our brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews that are going to suffer if these fools are able to go out and support shame and get that out to the wider white public, that that's what's happening when we stand up and fight for white well-being. Every one of those people, they should be relentlessly attacked on every platform that they appear, and they do this support shaming. There shouldn't be a moment of rest for them when you see them out there. It is you and your descendants, those you care about, that are going to suffer because they want to shut off the trickle of water that comes in. We are never going to get to a point where we can contend with all of these anti-white, multi-million-dollar organizational entities for the benefit and empowerment of their people if folks like that continue support shaming. And by the way, they support shame, and then they have nothing to say about the actual merchant right that shows up. Suddenly their voices are silent there, not a word. But when folks are doing good things, then suddenly it's they just want to take shekels. Sure. We just had a super chat by Rib for $10. Clearly a support of what we're saying and the work we're doing here. A heartfelt thank you to you for that kind super chat in defiance of these people who would.
People wouldn't be giving
us.
Look, we appreciate anything, a penny, but people wouldn't be giving these sums of $10 plus if they just wanted their super chat read. It was just this little game, and we're just playing this intellectual striptease. People giving these sums of $10, $20, $50, $300, that is humbling.
No, yeah.
They're showing that they've gotten a value, and there's aspects of their lives that have changed, transformed, that they're able to pass on real, tangible benefits. Guys, whether you like it or not, we live in 2019. We live in the age of the internet. This is a tool of communication. The instinct to reach out and connect and communicate, that is eternal in us. But this tool right here, the computers and the phones that you're listening on, this is the day and age we live in. Our people have also been psychologically beaten and browbeaten and pushed back. So we're pods all around the world. We need to use this tool to connect with each other, to find each other, to buoy each other up, to learn from each other, to inspire each other. And if you get a little value from that and you want to pay it back, everything is right about that. Don't let anyone tell you that something is wrong with that. And by the way, you will soon be seeing the fruits, some of the fruits of what we're doing. Because of this kind of thing, we're able to put some time into expanding what we're doing. So if you missed when I first came on saying, I'm not going to rehearse the whole thing, but most of you probably know we're about to roll some new exciting projects out, be more active, be doing more kinds of content, more angles to awaken people who are just on the edge, or give you tools to awaken the people in your life, have some fun along the way. Our own website, you'll see soon, but you'll see some of the fruits of this. And there's more and more and more that we want to do. Everything that you see, all the creative work, this is just kind of the training wheels version of it. Think about the fact that whether you believe it was manufactured or not, there's antecedents that go way further back, but the 1960s were a watershed culturally in changing people's minds about things. The 1960s are complicated. There's a lot that was going on there. There's no reason to parse it all out now, but just as a quick reference point, what if we're somehow able, through all of our efforts and other people like us, to over the next few years, start to fan the flames of something that is an organic inverse of the 1960s, that begins to change consciousness, change cultural conversation, change art forms, because that is really where so much is going to trickle down from and affect and ripple out, whatever metaphor you want to use, change people's hearts and minds, okay? The social mores and what was accepted before the 1960s and post-1960s is drastic. Okay? So what if we can fan the flames of something from us that's an inverse of that, culturally, artistically, intellectually? That's what we and those of us that we're working with and those of us in our circles, the types of people you see us speak to regularly on tap, it may sound ambitious, but I don't feel funny saying this. I'm laying it all out. That's what we're trying to do. Or at least that's how I put it. I don't know if Jason would put it that way, but that's one way that I would put it. So this is just the beginning. I've been doing this 2 years now it was 2 autumns ago in late 2017 that I began being active as the Great Order, right? With my website, my first YouTube channel, which went away in June, but all my other social media is known as the Great Order. And I could look back over my website, the archives, and see these different shows, some videos, some articles, some different things I've created, different things I've been involved in. And it's cool to take a look back. And there's been some activity. There's been some milestones. But I feel like a baby. Like, this is just getting started. This isn't just, I didn't just get in this to be a YouTube personality, and a small one at that right now, just to, I don't know, feel like I had some recognition or make an extra $100 in a month. You think I'm living off that? No. There's deep roots here. There's a big vision here. And Jason and I are two people of big vision. And what do you think? That's a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence that Jason and I came into each other's paths and we instantly recognized something in each other? We had a mutual respect and we were on the same page. I say this not to make it about us. I'm saying this to you. Be what you are, resonate your signal, put your signal out there strongly, and you will. We're talking about community. Community is one of the themes of what we're discussing tonight. I don't want to sound woo-woo and new agey, but you will attract people to you. I saw it happen in my own life with everything going on and the people that I met and how this all came to be for me. I look back into how I just fell into being on Tutar, meeting Mark Collette because I just met Jason. It's like something out of a book, you know? But could you say it was dumb luck, or did I prepare for it? The 2 years before that, underneath the tip of the iceberg, I worked on my own mind and heart a lot so that I knew what I was doing and why I was doing it before I made that first video. I had that solid base. So when you put your signal out, when you know what you're doing and why, and you have a vision for it, you will attract better friends, better business partners, better romantic partners, potential spouses. Be and say and do what you are, cleanly, forthrightly, based in your own true character. And if you're having trouble with that, if you have some confusion, and we all do, it's a process. You're never done. We're all here together trying to make each other better. But I can tell you from experience, it's not just dumb luck. It's not dumb luck that Jason and I, we were two guys who had a lot of vision, so we meshed. We were in it for the right reasons, and we recognized that in each other, so we meshed. I was scared, man. I started this, I didn't know. When I'm talking to people at first, you hear all these things. Are they feds? Are they getting my information? All these crazy things you hear. I felt like I was stepping into a hall of mirrors when I first started this. Do you know how fortunate I feel? Do you know how grateful I feel that I came into the company of Jason and people like him and all the people I've met doing this? Steered through so much potential BS, avoided icebergs. It's because I put in the work first. You have to clean your room. No, I wouldn't say that.
You made a great
point. Clean yourself out and broadcast your signal strongly, and miracles will happen. Miracles will happen. This is the best decision I've ever made in my life. People say, you guys are just talking. This is just online BS. You only have a few thousand followers. What is this? What do you have to show for this? No. I'm having the time of my life. I'm learning. I'm becoming a better man every day. I couldn't have asked for anything more. and it's a joyous ride.
Amen to that. And you did the exact opposite thing, the correct thing, when you came into the community, as a lot of these people who now want to have an adult tantrum and blame the entire white positive sphere, to circle back all the way to the beginning of the show, which, by the way, I want to make a prediction in a moment. But to circle all the way back, these folks didn't do their due diligence. They didn't look around and say, well, does this make sense? We've talked about on the show before about reputational investment and repeating things that people are going to be saying. And I was beseeching people to do the right thing, not repeat these statements that certain folks who they're saying things just to get attention on themselves. And then a month later, they change their position on it because something else will get attention on them. Do not repeat what they're saying. Jared made the right decisions. He did his due diligence, and some people don't, though, and they should learn from the errors, just like we all learn from the errors that we make, instead of deciding that they are going to attack the white positive sphere by telling our folks to essentially isolate themselves. And again, we draw a dividing line between moving out to a farm and starting a family and having other white community members out there, and you all trading maybe different. One family is beef and the other family is corn. We totally endorse that.
We're all for that.
Yeah, that's different than the turn away from this connectivity to the broader white world. Turn away from an idea and concern and consideration for something bigger than, if you are not looking for something bigger than your own ass, you are going to end up just like the Rhodesians and South Africans our brothers and sisters, slaughtered, murdered, raped, gang raped, tortured, all of that. That is your future. Because we are going to need you to take back our destiny. We're going to need your help. We're not going to be able to win this for you and then come find you in your community and say, oh, you can come back because the cities are nice now. It's not going to end up that way. You're not going to, and essentially and then they use this crutch of Christianity of let God do it. Essentially they're saying, well, just let Jared George do it. And then when he fixes things, then you can come and find me on my farm. Despicable way to live, especially for a man. Here's my prediction. And then we're going to get a couple of last things here because we just passed midnight. And we'll wrap up.
Clock has struck midnight in Eastern U.S.
Exactly. We are in tomorrow.
Bell. We had a dong.
The prediction that I want you all to look for. I want you all to look for this, because I absolutely eviscerated and just pulled the entrails out of the arguments of these people. Be prepared for the goalpost moving. That's what's going to happen next. It's going to be tomorrow, and the next day it's going to suddenly be no. We just have a different or this or that. They're going to move that goalpost out, and they're going to keep the attack on. It's for two reasons. It's because they're not mature enough to say, "Whoa, I was actually wrong." So they're immature. So they want to save face, which is fine if they want to save it. And the other reason is that they just want to continue to inflict injury because their fruits are divine for you. Their objective. So their objective is to cause harm. When they begin with this goalpost moving nonsense, rather than saying, well, you know what, this connectivity, this great white ring, rebuilding a people out of a deracinated race, so that we can pass through the bottleneck in history and come out the other side stronger, brighter, more beautiful, healthier than we have ever been, more intelligent than we've ever been. That's the way to go, rather than let's just move out onto let's just worry about myself and move out onto a farm. Tall Kevin asked, Keurig machine or traditional coffee machine, what do you prefer? I have both. And I don't know that one is necessarily, I guess it's
watch out for heating that plastic cup though, Jason.
Heating a plastic cup? Yeah, that would.
Doesn't the Keurig go through, the hot water goes through a plastic cup? Like that mini Keurig cup, right?
Well, yeah, well, the device, yes, it's passing through. So if there's anything in that can be leached into the boiling coffee, then you're going to, if drinking that over time could be in danger. We also have the question of Tony, Utah. asking about Oswald Mosley. We'll have to talk about that another time. We're out of time.
I responded, yeah. I asked maybe he could put in the chat what he thought the best thing to read on Mosley would be. I'm fascinated by Mosley, but I readily admit I'm not up here to act like I know more than I do. There's a lot I need to learn, and we're all learning together. I know pitifully little about Oswald Mosley, so please do send your suggestions. You know, he's a favorite of our friend Laura D.
Well, I can briefly say, based on what I know, and this is for all cases, I specifically, and this is how we should all operate. You don't have to like everything a person has ever done. Remember, the anti-whites use a tactic of divide and conquer by trying to get everything or claim that everything that a person has ever done or said in their life to stick to you because you have liked something that they said or did. So this is the way to handle that divide and conquer strategy. And that is to say that I support Oswald in everything that he did and said that served white well-being, that was in keeping with my morality. If he went outside of that morality, then that is not for me. I claim none of that. But everything that he did that was served white well-being and kept my morality, was in keeping with my morality, I support. And so the statement that I have in brief tonight, to make it as brief as possible, is the question, how tall will the statue be? That's what I have to say about Oswald. We have over here on the Familiar Alternative, a super chat. Ladies and gentlemen, you thought everything was just simply going to end tonight. I will quickly, I understand, I will get...
Did someone just buy another hour of our time?
I don't know about that, but I will briefly take a look at this wretched article by this wretched Jeff Yang, this anti-white propagandist typist, and typing away over there at CNN, no talent whatsoever, bastard. But we have Jason, the Danish Greek. Jason, the Danish Greek, super chatting $100 over on the Familiar Alternative. My hat's off to you, my good friend. Let me see. Is this, are you refer? Oh, okay. I gotcha. So this is Jason from earlier, posting my white well-being flyers soon in my city. Also, printing big salute to you, everybody. Please, let's get wild emojis. The clock has struck midnight, and Jason has just revealed some fantastic information here. Also, printing business cards, more diplomatic for misguided whites and potentially loyal non-whites, with no white guilt info. A LSO. Please support Stream Kurds in DK. And then Rasmus risks his life against the Sandy invaders every day. And by Sandy, he, of course, means the name Sandy, which is a lovely name for young ladies. So thank you. So,
short for Sandra.
Yeah, short for Sandra.
I wonder if he's in Denmark or Greek, the Danish Greek.
I'm sorry, it's the Stram Kurs in DK. STRAM. KURS.
Oh, yeah, Rasmus says, who's speaking at Frody's conference, which, by the way, is coming up in a couple of days. That's this weekend.
Fantastic. Well, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Jason. And I'm glad we could figure out exactly who you're referencing here. Rasmus risking his life. Thank you. Thank you so much for the leafleting. Please, if always, of course, and only in legal areas, if there is any news coverage, please make sure that you get it to me, because I won't know otherwise. So hats off to you. Thank you, my dear friend and brother in the cause, for everything that you are doing. What a hero. What an absolute hero. Showing up, getting clean, and then jumping in both feet and making things happen. Purpose, ladies and gentlemen, that is what you will find for your life in white well-being and going free. We also have a super chat by way of the Familiar Alternative from someone with the name Matthew. And of course, I don't know whether this is the Matthew from earlier in the show tonight that we were talking about, super chatting, but whatever Matthew it is, he is writing with $20. So thank you very much for that $20 super chat. Writing here, this is what I think about support shaming. Have a good night, guys. So whatever Matthew that is, a big thank you to you. the $20 financial support there. It will be put to spectacular use in the cause for white well-being and opposition. As I said earlier tonight, I said that I hope that Zoomer or Millennial, I'm not exactly sure what he is now, but Matt will come out against.
I guess he got younger somehow.
Yes, well, that will come out against those who are support shaming and claiming that we in white well-being are advocating political solutions or advocating defending other regimes from other countries and other periods in history, and wearing uniforms and marching down, advocating that we march down the street with odd uniforms and or maybe even beautiful uniforms and flags of other periods. These are all lies. So I hope that Matt will distance himself from these liars who are trying to undermine the work that obviously the fantastic work that we're doing. It brings me all the meaning that I could possibly ever dream of having in life. It is a great honor. So let me quickly, I will jump over here as we're running out of time. The CNN Joker, Jeff Yang, writes about the Joker. He says the Todd Phillips movie that reimagines the origins of Batman's killer clown nemesis opened this weekend to record-setting box office sales, much to the chagrin, I think, of Jeff Yang. I just skimmed this, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm not sure, but I'm hoping we'll find something in here that I can help you all learn to grow from, to heal from, and to share with your friends and family. Fueled by deft marketing and some of the most, okay, so he's saying, well, the movie's terrible, but it's the marketing and some of the most polarizing critical reaction of any mass market film in decades, further fueling the hype around the movie, a shocking Golden Lion win at the Venice International Film Festival, and a joint bulletin from the FBI Department of Homeland Security warning about online threats of mass shooters at Joker screenings. Set in a very thinly disguised New York City, Phillips' version of the Joker story has as its protagonist Arthur Fleck, a middle-aged working-class man who lives with his invalid mother. Fleck works as a clown for hire while fantasizing about romancing the lovely single mother who lives down the hall. Well,
yeah, there's talk in the reviews I've seen about whether or not the relationship with her is in his head or not. Some people think that it's not.
Well, what this
right here, at any rate, is putting the image in people's heads.
Right. Well, with this, but what I'm going to say is, and this is education for everyone watching, if you don't already catch this sort of thing from anti-whites, he just referred to the woman down the hall as a lovely single mother. That means 100% it's a non-white woman.
Oh yeah.
So
I missed that they didn't say that. Yeah, it is a black woman.
Actually, somebody said it was, didn't they, earlier tonight, that it's a non-white woman? Didn't somebody say that earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, it is a non-white woman. So
yes,
a lovely single mother. Jeff Yang, an anti-white, would never say a lovely single mother who lives down the hall if it had been a white woman who lived down the hall, unless she was anti-white. But let's move on. He's brutalized by young thugs. He's beaten by. Now he's complaining about this. Jeff.
Yeah. Well, I've also read about this scene, and I believe those young thugs share the same background as the lovely single mother.
It has to be the case because he is what he says here. He's brutalized by young thugs. So he's beaten by suit-clad Wall Streeters, and his answer to this dual pincer of oppression by people of color. Okay, so there you have it. They are the non-whites, and as Jeff Yang is demonstrating, I guess he's anti-white as could possibly be, because he then says people of color, which excludes white people from humanity, whereas non-white is simply indicating that a person is not white. Big difference between the phrase people of color.
Are these not colors?
Yeah.
Colors.
We have more colors, anti-white Yang, than he's drinking his own Yang Tang. People of color, one percenters is a murderous rampage of revenge, which catches fire among fellow angry citizens of Gotham and sends them looting through the streets. Well, many reviewers have focused on Fleck as an incel, your quote-unquote hero. So this is despicable, this use of this word, because he is mocking a group of people who this is not their choice to not have sex. They are involuntarily celibate, but that's okay because they are almost entirely white males. So it's okay for Fleck the anti-white to say this.
It's because society's falling apart.
Right. His status as a sexless loner who turns to violence. But this is interesting. This is telling me something about the movie right there. The true nature of the movie's appeal is actually broader. It's an insidious validation of the white male resentment that helped bring President Donald Trump to power. Okay. So, now
we're all the Joker. We are all.
No, this tells me, I haven't seen the movie yet. Maybe I'll see it for you all, folks. We'll break it down. This tells me that the movie is teaching young white men to be violent. This is you. You are sexless. You are beaten down. You are stepped over by anti-white, non-whites. Society, all of this is true.
But invalidating their anger.
Right. And then saying, this is the response. This is you'll be on the silver screen. So this is despicable anti-white programming for our young white males. That is what I'm learning so far from what this anti-white is saying. So ladies and gentlemen, do you see how I'm interpreting what the anti-white here is saying? And I know exactly where to go for the truth because of it. You will look in Go Free and you will see that there is a particular phrase, and you've got to get Go Free. I want you all to get Go Free. And you apply that phrase to everything that an anti-white is saying and doing, and you will understand. You will be able to predict, retrodict. You'll be able to understand what they're saying in the moment. Joker, at its core, is the story of the forgotten man, quote unquote, the metaphoric displaced and disenfranchised white man whose goodwill has been abused and whose status has been reduced. Okay, so there you have part of the anti-white narrative. This anti-white Yang is angry with the storyline because it runs too close. Now, remember, this is the other thing. This is an Alex Jones world. In Alex Jones' world, there is, and now I don't know, maybe Jones is a wonderful person and he didn't mean this, or this is the way it's been interpreted. I don't know. But everybody understands that when it comes to Jones, it is like a single brain that has all of these tentacles, and that this article couldn't have been written unless it had some sort of meaning. That's not how the world works. Yang is an individual anti-white serving the selfish interests of an individual anti-white. Particularly, he's a non-white anti-white, and he's serving his own interest in writing this article. There's dynamism here of him, of his editor, of this employer, CNN, of the movie maker, and how this movie is simultaneously teaching young white males, speaking right to their heart, right to their problems, right to the voice that's in their head, the voice that I've been stepped over. We can't really say the word replaced on the internet anymore, so we won't, but I'm being white erased. I can't get the promotion. I can't get a girlfriend because of X, Y, or Z. I can't, speaking the voice with the voice that these young men have in their minds, and then glamorizing this response, this big redoubtable clown that can take down society, that can be brought back again and again, that is unstoppable, that can take on the system that has inflicted pain on him and can inflict pain on the system. For God's sakes, turn away from this garbage. If you are a young man and you see this, that is what's going to echo in your head, that this is the way to behave, like this idiot. It is not. The way to behave is to take that energy and that rage and everything that's being stolen from you and put it into Going Free, put it into White Wellbeing. Do not go down the path that the filmmaker wants, and that is not invalidated by the anger and the animus that Yang, another anti-white, feels toward the narrative that is bringing light to the pain that young white males are feeling. Does that make sense? This is much more complicated.
He doesn't even like the acknowledgement of it.
No, exactly.
Even a light being shown on it. But
right.
Someone made an interesting comment in the chat. You see all of these different castings for heroes, right? Like Heimdall, the whitest god in the Norse pantheon, is played by a black man in the Marvel Thor. I wonder if they would ever take a character like Joker and have him played by a black man. I mean, don't we need more diversity in the movies, right?
Oh, well, I tell you what, I know exactly if they did, he would have a sympathetic backstory. He would have been persecuted by white people and pressed into service of whites. That is how the anti-whites run the anti-white narrative. So he says, Phillips clearly wants Joker to yank at the chains of a society that has increasingly found his shock-fueled style of storytelling less relevant and more problematic. Okay, so this guy doesn't, Yang, obviously, it's this. Now, don't do the dumb conservative, the dumb nationalist approach here, ladies and gentlemen. Mankind has two hemispheres to the brain. We are wont to tend toward dichotomy. And therefore, when Yang comes out and criticizes Phillips, you will feel this inclination to think that Phillips must somehow be on your side. Absolutely not. These are thieves. These are victimizers battling over each other. Don't let yourself fall for this. So just because Yang is criticizing and doesn't like him saying that Phillips' storytelling is not relevant, these are all like backhanded, like he'd like to say worse, but he can't put it in print. And problematic. It's probably all of these anti-white bastards. This is the kind of thing. Oh, it's problematic. If you're seeing this and you know what I'm talking about, speak out to it in the chat as we're wrapping up. Only a few more minutes. It's very late, and I've got a lot to do on the book.
Yeah, Jason, Todd Phillips is the director of, I think he started, his big break might have been Old School. So he did kind of like frat type movies. He did the Hangover movies, okay? So it's more fighting over, are we going to show them this degenerate lifestyle and make a joke out of everything and screw guys up this way? Or the Yang version is more, well, now we're going to be woke and everything is going to be managed. Your speech is going to be managed in that direction. So I think what you were just saying is that they're still our enemies regardless. Just because you're seeing them fight over how to screw our minds doesn't mean that one of them is with you. Don't get into just because one is against the other that you have to choose a side.
Yeah, because listen, ladies and gentlemen, in this, we're going to be doing more of this because we really have to inoculate you against what's happening. It just drives me nuts. It has for decades in the white positive sphere to hear folks take a scenario like this and then immediately start looking. This is exactly what would happen. I guarantee you, if you see it on other channels, or you will see it elsewhere. I will promise you right now, you will see in the coming days, others from the white positive sphere on the periphery or what have you, start looking into Phillips' other work for whether or not he really cares about white well-being. They are imbeciles. Do not fall for this. Let's see. So it says here, Phillips said comedians don't work anymore. Because of this culture where you can't make jokes. They're all jokes about society. Everybody's afraid of being hurt. Quote, Phillips speaking, so I go, how do I do something irreverent? Oh, I know. Let's take the comic book movie universe, turn it on its head, close quote. After watching Joker, it's easy to decode what Phillips really meant, Yang says in his quote. And it's so he's mind reading his fellow anti-white there. And it's the same thing that fired SNL cast member Shane Gillis meant when he excused his repeated use of racist, misogynist, and anti-white slurs. So anti-white slurs, bunch of anti-white slurs. And then, of course, in the anti-white mindset, this all just means his repeated use of evil, and evil slurs as pushing boundaries. So you're not allowed to be a heretic in anti-whiteism. You will be punished for it, according to the anti-whites. It draws from the same well of resentment that Trump strums with his evil, the anti-white slur rhetoric at his rallies. The fear of no longer being at the center of the political, social, and cultural universe with everyone who isn't you positioned at its perceived edges. Well, I'll tell you what, Yang, go straight to hell. Western civilization is built by Western kind. There is no Western civilization without us. You are glorying in the West because we make it. This isn't a stage that we stole from someone. This doesn't exist. And we just got here before everybody else. And then we occupied the heights and we're jealously thieving it from everybody else. No, we built it, you bastard. We built it. And then out of the goodness of our hearts, most of us, some of us, they were the wealthy using their wealth against us, harming us as much or more so than the non-whites they brought into the country to work for free, have brought and allowed you all to enter this country. And now you say you have a claim to what is ours, what we build, what we make. Now you say that we are feeling insecure about not being at the center of our stage. It's our house, you bastard. It is our house. We let you live in the guest bedroom. It is our house. It doesn't quite seem like coincidence that Fleck and his mother reside in a rundown building that seems otherwise occupied by non-white tenants, prompting Mother Penny to assert that if her old employer, Thomas Wayne, saw how they were living, he would be disgusted, or that the movie opens with an attack on Fleck by Black and Latinx youth. My God.
Yeah, I don't know why there's no A or O. It's an X. Someone in the chat, you got to explain that. Or
no,
does that mean you could be like a trans?
Yeah,
Latin?
Unisex.
You don't want to say O or A. It's maybe the Romance languages have to go because they have gender.
Yeah, they'll have to go. Referred to by one of Fleck's fellow white male clowns as savages. How dare they call people brutalizing them savages? Well, that obviously means that you are an anti-white slur. You're a heretic. You're not anti-white enough, and you have to be punished.
Think of the boldness that they write these articles in CNN and can say, look at these people who are upset that they're losing a grip on their society. I mean, does it occur to them that this could backfire, and there might be young guys that come across articles like this and are like, wait, we are being elbowed out, and these guys are making fun of us for even recognizing it or saying that we're evil for. I mean, the impunity, the confidence that they have right now is insane. Hopefully, a weakness we'll be able to continually exploit.
Yeah, it's clearly Yang here doesn't want young white men acknowledging or focusing or in a group way noticing how they are being harmed by anti-whiteism in anti-white America, because he knows it doesn't suit his interests and it doesn't suit the interests of his communities, whatever they might be, Asian, homosexual, whatever his communities might be. It doesn't suit the interests of those communities if young white men as a group begin to realize that, wait, this is happening to all of us. Why should we put up with this anymore? Meanwhile, you have this other guy who I'm not saying has sat down in an Alex Jonesian way and said, how can we direct or vector young white men into violence so that we can apply? Maybe they did. I don't know. But all that would have to happen is this Phillips to live by the anti-white narrative, and then from life by the anti-white narrative, know that extrapolating from that to the story of his movie, how it has to be played out. And that's exactly what we see here. So if Jared and I were to make a movie and turn all of this around, I guarantee you both Phillips and Yang would be very upset with that outcome. Just like that commercial I talked about earlier, if we were to turn that all the way around, they would be very upset. So I want
to make a movie about how these guys make movies.
Yeah.
So at least we want to start with skits that way. Continue with that whole, this is what goes on in Hollywood when they're planning these things, because there's a lot of rich material. And I tell people ideas, because if you can go do the video before I can, do it. Get the ideas out there. Get the message out there.
And let me just jump to the bottom. This is Yang. What was his first? What was his first? Jeff. That's right, Jeff Yang's article on CNN, folks. If you want to read the whole thing yourself. And let's see, at the very end here, it says, at the end of the movie, a triumphant Fleck, seemingly dead, but magically revived by the cheers of a throng of clown-masked rioters. How do you think that's going to land on somebody who's already mentally unwell and who is not in an institution?
Apparently, there's a crucifixion motif. He's wheeled out on the hood of a car, and he's prostrate like this, and there's a whole Jesus kind of imagery evoked from what I've read of the reviews as well.
Disgusting. So yeah, a person who would have been institutionalized is now out on the streets because of the deinstitutionalization movements, two of them big ones in the United States. I'm sure elsewhere across the West. In fact, I have been told by others in their countries that the same thing has happened. And they're going to go to the movie. They're going to see this. They're going to be experiencing these things in the real world, this passing over, etc., and always the bad guy in the anti-white narrative, etc. They're gonna have to pretend at the same time that in fact the reverse is true, that they are living life large, everything's being given to them on a silver platter, and everybody else is the malnourished and kept down, exploited, slaved, etc. Then they're going to go watch a movie where they see that's the case. Then they see, well, a guy can fight against that system by going Looney Tunes. I'm sure he murders people in this movie like a insane person. And then at the end, he's brought back to life. So you can just imagine how this is going to land on somebody who is already unhinged, who should have been institutionalized. And when he or she goes out and commits some atrocity, who's going to get blamed? Not the filmmaker, not the anti-whites, the anti-white filmmaker, not the anti-white Yang, not the anti-whites who moved for the deinstitutionalization movements, not all of the anti-whites who created the context in which this young man or woman had nothing but mental torment from the earliest age of life, day in, day out, victimized. As I said with these others, they are victims for, if they're 25 years old, they have been a victim for 25 years. And then for the 30 seconds that they commit the horrific atrocity that we condemn in the deepest and broadest terms, for that 30 seconds, they become a monster. But up until that moment, they are victims. Are they going to blame the society for what they did? Are they going to say, let's take a look at how this person ended up this way, how they ended up on that long road to committing this atrocity? Hell no. They're going to blame Jared George. They're going to blame Mark Collette. They're going to blame me. That tells you everything you need to know about the anti-whites. If you can share that with your friends and family when you go out and watch this movie, if you can speak to them about these things, you'll shed a lot of light for them. You will help to open their eyes. Jared George, final thoughts. I'll see if we have any final super chats, and we're going to close this thing up tonight.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with the politicians saying, Democratic politicians saying that they should go out and commit all kinds of violence. Antifa being given a golden pass by all of these Democratic strongholds. We see it there in the arena of politics. We see it in Hollywood, like you just said. They whip all of this up, and then pass the buck after creating all of this in the culture. But I think you said it well. There's not much more to add.
Thank you, my dear friend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be coming back this week. Look at this, Miss Horse with us. Beautiful lady, beautiful. What a lucky husband she has. What a beautiful family. Oh, there's a, is it Angharad Celtic? Great name. Great to see you. Everybody sticking with us throughout. I hope that you've, here's Lisa saying that Latin people are from Europe. Yeah, absolutely. White Latin people are from Europe. 100%. They are white.
Yeah, in this hemisphere, it's come to include the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, with the exception of Brazil. So it's a bit of a strange term because, yes, we know obviously there's the Latin language and Latin Europe, but because of the Spanish, well, yeah, I guess actually excuse me, I'm confusing that with something else with Brazil. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, because it's still Portuguese settlers and they're Latin as well. But there's different distinctions they make. Point is, maybe you're writing from Europe, but on this side of the ocean over here in the Americas, it's unfortunately come to be synonymous with the peoples from those places, and many of them being mestizo, not being castizo, and having a predominant European admixture in their heritage. But I can understand why someone from Europe would be a little confused by that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there are white people throughout Latin and Central, rather, and South America. So there's no confusion there either.
It's a little late. What I meant to say, I was confusing with Hispanic.
Right.
Of course, Brazil is part of Latin America because they're a Portuguese colony, and Portugal is still part of the Latin world. I meant to say Hispanic. That term is everything pretty much minus Brazil.
Cherie says, Greeks are beautiful people, Jason. I have darker skinned members in my family too. Well, thank you, Cherie, for being here. Realize the hailstorm, Shiksa, I think that was, as I scanned by. We've had quite a night.
Shiksa.
And it's been a absolutely spectacular, meaningful time with you all. I want us all to go out and to our friends, family, and strangers out there, and make a change, make a difference in this world. Be someone's light, be someone's better tomorrow. Help them out of the gutter, whatever that means, however it means for you. And we will continue doing the same here. Always an honor to serve with all of you heroes in the community for White Wellbeing. Jared, Georgia, and I will be back on Thursday for TAP. It's going to be a spectacular episode, as always is the case. I will be back with you all tomorrow, Wednesday, later today, I guess, with Mark Collette on PWR. So look for me there. It never ends, and I hope it never does. So always service to White Wellbeing. And then probably, again, yes, on Sunday or the weekend, we'll have more going on. So I love you all. I want you to know this. Piers is here. Who just flew by? Polygon, I saw you earlier. There's Mestizo, actually, in the writing. PWR and TAP are great shows. Thank you so much for that. It absolutely warms my heart, like you all cannot imagine, to be able to serve White Wellbeing with you all. It's very meaningful. And we love you all. We look forward to continuing to go free with you in the coming days, the weeks, the months, the years. God bless you all. Let's recapture our destiny.